Infocision Stadium. TJ down. Oh. Welcome into Infocision Stadium. Stark Media Team here on location as we get set for the state semis. Division II as the Archbishop Hoban Knights are taking on the Massillon Tigers. And as I'm joined by 4 parts here, including myself, of the Stark Media Team, 4 parts. You know, we can do some cooking with that here on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, everybody that's starting to tune into us here, and it will be joining us here eventually as we get closer to kickoff. Still about 15 minutes before we get started here on the campus of Akron. The Zips hosting this game again on Suma Field inside of Infocision Stadium. Should be a packed crowd. And as I welcome in Mark Milano, Drew Sarachman, and Jeff Tyler, guys, we've caught a lot of football this year, and it's kind of all led us to this point. And what a great job by having this location for this game. Mark, I mean, your thoughts as we see the people starting to pack in, and we heard some rumblings as we were on our way up here that there was upwards of some 25 to 30,000 tickets that were sold for this ball game. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case here thus far, but you know, the word on the street, you can tell that the Massillon Tigers have traveled a little bit better than the Hoban Knights, which don't have as far to go, but, you know, it should be a great night for football. Beautiful weather down there on the field. Tell us about it. You were down there, and you also talked to our officials, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. You always got to talk to the officials. You know, and this is going to be their 3rd game together. And normally, you know, you got these guys that are out there, and they're on their own crews, but now they've divided everything up. And so just like anything else, these are the officials that have graded out better than anybody else did. You know, and today the real men of genius get to call this game to some extent here. But, yeah, I'm excited. You know, parking's not always the easiest thing to do here, but, you know, when you look at the facility itself and the seating that you've got, this is what they needed for this game. And, TJ, you talked about the amount of tickets that were sold. If there was 20,000 tickets, I'm guessing probably 85% of those probably went to the Massillon Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there'll be that number. My guess is we'll have about 8,000 to 9,000 people here. When I was coaching here in multiple games here, I think the most we had for St. Vincent St. Mary Hoban game was probably about 13,500. Stadium holds 22,000. But, yeah, Massillon always travels well. You know, the game's also on TV nowadays, so people want to watch, stay at home. It's holidays. But I think, like I said, I think we'll get to about 8,000, 9,000 here tonight, which no other stadiums besides Byers Field in Northeast Ohio wanted to step up and host a game with that many that has that capacity. So, you know, good job by the OHSAA making a deal with Akron and putting us in a site that can handle this game.
Jeff, I know you got some numbers down there. You're our resident numbers guy here, man. Always with the great graphics and laying out the starters for us. You know, before we even talk a little bit about our Stark Media fantasy draft that we had earlier this week at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you know, some of your thoughts heading into this ball game here as you look at how Division II is kind of shaking out. We know that on the bottom half of this bracket, it's going to be Toledo Central Catholic and Kings Mills. But here in front of us now, what we see is a Hoban team that likes to run the ball, over 3,900 yards, a running back that's got over 50 touchdowns. Well, tell us the tale of the tape on this thing, man.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, both teams can run the rock pretty darn good. I mean, Drew and I were talking on the way up here just to, you know, maybe some ideas of what each team wants to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Hoban coming out here and shock everybody and throw it, you know, first series or two just to open up that run. Not that they totally have to, but each team has seen each other on tape quite a bit. Each team is very familiar with each other. Who knows what's going to happen there? But, I mean, you know, I went into this thinking whoever wins this game is probably going to win state. I still pretty much think that. But you look at this bottom of this bracket, you know, we were looking at some stats on Toledo Central Catholic and Kings. They're no joke. I mean, Central Catholic has already played Eds, barely lost to them.
First
Kings,
game of the season, right?
Yeah.
Kings, by 3. Lost by 3.
Kings split with Whitten Woods, who was no joke, who Drew and I talked week 4 or 5. We thought maybe Whitten Woods was maybe the favorite at that point to win it all. So, yeah, it's anybody's ball game. I'm pretty jacked to see this and see what happens.
Well, the Massillon Tiger Swing Band getting ready to come out onto the field and do their thing. Mark, when you look at numbers for the Massillon Tigers, you know, you and I, we had a chance to see them against Fitch. We saw them early in the season against Glen Oak, but I typically don't talk about that matchup because I don't want to have to talk bad about my Glen Oak Golden Eagles and the butt whooping that they took in week 2. But from what we saw outside of that, Austintown Fitch, you look at these numbers. For Will Trell Hartson, 40 carries, 274 yards, 4 touchdowns. You look through some of the playoff games that you and I had a chance to call. Opening up with Perry with the backyard brawl. That was a 48-7 win for the Tigers. Will Hartson again would extend his 100-yard rush streak. He would have 14 carries for 111 yards and 3 touchdowns. Moving even further, next round, round 2, it was a 34-0 beating of Canal Winchester. That was a 20-carry performance, 142 yards, another 3 touchdowns. And then the last game that you and I had a chance to call, it was another 3-pack, another hat trick, off of 29 carries, 211 yards. And that was a 42-21 victory over Big Walnut. All right, this is a running back dominated game. Everybody talks about Lamar Sperling. He's a finalist for Mr. Football, but Will Hartson, you know, he's putting up some pretty good numbers himself. He's set tonight in this game, barring anything crazy happening, to become the all-time leading career rusher for the Washington Tigers. That's a pretty big deal when you look at some of the history and you look at a guy like Jameer Thomas, who he's going to surpass, passing some records of Travis McGuire, and he's got 30 touchdowns himself. You know, a lot of people, I don't really think, give this kid the credit he deserves, do they?
I think he's an awfully good football player, and I think that when you look at what he does out on the football field, and if you're Massillon, you say, well, what if something happened to him? Well, I'll tell you what, having Pringle come in, what a job he's been doing. And this is very similar to what Freddie Lennox did last year. You know, when Hartson went down, he stepped in. It seems like they always have somebody that's stepping up, but both teams have a bevy of running backs that are over there. You look at Xavier Williams, Drew, you and I had a chance to talk about him. Talking to the coaches from Hoban, I said, just how fast is Lamar Sperling? They told me he's 4.4.
Yeah, he's a legit 4.4 kid, and, you know, Xavier Williams might be faster.
That's exactly what they said.
So, you know, this Hoban team has, you know, kind of evolved over the years. You know, when I was the offensive coordinator there for 5 seasons, it was power run game, put as many guys in the box as possible, and see if you can stop us. When you bring up the safeties, we're going to throw the ball deep and try to beat you. They've you know, evolved, and they were getting more athletes, so they're starting to spread the ball up a little bit more. Lamar Sperling is getting more carries than, you know, any running back up until now in Tim Terrell's reign there at Hoban. They used to, their top running backs, you talk about Todd Sibley, who's a top 5 or top 10 all-time rusher in the state of Ohio. He was only getting about 20 carries a game. Now Lamar Sperling, who is going to be in the top 5 by the end of this season, he's getting 30 carries a game. And we talked about it earlier this year, and J.P. Simon, the defensive line coach at Massillon, said, you know, it's tough to get a shot on this guy. And that's probably why he gets so many carries, because his style of running doesn't lend, you know, to big hits. And, you know, he's staying healthy. And they're feeding him the rock right now. The offensive line's playing really well. And this is going to be a grudge match here. These both front sevens on defense are great. Both offensive lines are great. Both running games are great, and I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks.
You want to make him smile right now. It's all about the offensive linemen. I think that when you look at the offensive line for both of these teams, you have 2 physical running backs, but those offensive linemen allow them to be even more physical because of the holes that they open up for them.
Jeff, do you think is it an undershot that this guy Lamar Sperling's committed to Buffalo? I mean,
I do.
Come up with numbers like this. I mean,
maybe committed a little bit early, you know.
And you know how kids are nowadays,
yeah.
Transfer portal, all that stuff. You can decommit. I mean, Ardell Banks is already decommitted, where he had he was talking about going to Toledo, I believe, originally, and then boom, after that, you got Kentucky that's offered, you've got Pitt that's offered, you've got Arizona State that's offered. So it was the right choice on his behalf. But I mean, I would think somebody larger than Buffalo, although it's Division I college football, somebody larger would come around and say, "Oh my gosh, this kid just ran for over 3,500 yards in one season.
Right.
He's got over 50 touchdowns."
And
Knock on the door.
It's not like the kid's not fast. He's got D1 speed.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Drew just said, running 4.5, sub 4.5. That's no joke. So, I mean, like you said, though, he's got plenty. He's got time. He's got time to, you know, if he's another offer rolls in or something. But, hey, you know, the bottom line is right now the kid's got an offer and he's going to go play some D1 college football.
Yeah, and you know what? He's 5'9", 185 pounds. You watch college football nowadays, you don't see, even, you know, in the MAC, you don't see many running backs under 200 pounds. So maybe that's part of it.
He just runs. He runs bigger than that.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And like you said, you know, he's developed a style of running that he's not taking the big hits. So, you know, maybe that's a worry of college coaches sometimes. I think college coaches overthink themselves because at the end of the day, recruiting in college is what keeps you your job, right? You know, you recruit players, and if they don't pan out, you're getting fired. But I think his size is the only reason he doesn't have bigger offers. But he's a player, and like I said, I mean, he's probably the favorite for Mr. Football in the state of Ohio. He's got over 3,000 yards rushing and over 50 touchdowns.
And he's a good receiver coming out of the backfield too.
He did. Yep.
You know, don't discount his hands.
Before we talk more about the offensive lines in front of these backs, we got to switch over to the side of the Massillon Tigers. And Will Hartson, he's been a guy that I've talked about for, well, pretty much all season for, you know, the effort that he's put out behind his line. And I think we're going to have some guys maybe doing a little bit of a shuffle here. We'll talk about that as the Massillon Tigers take the field right now. But to me, Jeff, you mentioned the speed situation for Lamar Sperling. I think one of you guys was rumbling around here that maybe he's been clocked at a 4.4, a 4.5. I mean, okay, that's elite high-level speed. But it seems to me that the knock on Will Hartson has been college coaches have looked at him and said he's not fast enough. But I'm over here saying he does all the things you want out of a great back. He's got vision. He lets his line set things up for him. You can't teach that stuff. I mean, it's just natural instinct and ball security. The biggest deal. You're a former coach, Drew. You know, anybody who's ever played the game of football knows that the first thing coach is drilling you on is secure the football.
Security.
Cannot turn it over. Yeah. Will Hartson doesn't turn the ball over.
Ball security is job security. You can talk to any player I've ever coached in my 15 years, and I'll say that and they'll roll their eyes because they hear it every single day. Ball security is job security. You want to find a quick way to find the pine, put that football on the ground. And here's the thing about his speed that I'll say is I think that's unfortunate because I take a back that I coached Todd Sibley coming out of Hoban. He was a 4.7 guy. That's why he didn't go to Ohio State. That's why he landed at Pitt eventually. But now, by his senior year at Pitt, they turn him into a 4.51 guy through the weight room. So you got to take a chance on these kids and develop it. Put it in your strength staff and your development staff. Say, hey, we can get this kid faster. We can stretch him out. We can do things to work with his running technique to make him faster. That's what's unfortunate. And someone will. He's productive enough when these college coaches really sit down after the season and start watching film. I think he'll land somewhere in the MAC.
Jeff, you know, the whole speed thing, you've had kids that have recently gone through the program over there at Glen Oak High School. And nowadays there's just so much out there, whether it's videos that you're pulling off of YouTube, whether it's a strength guy up at 440 that you're going to see. I mean, specialized training has really kind of gone next level, right?
Right. Well, and you think, too, you know, a couple years ago it was pretty tough to get recruited anywhere. You came off a COVID year. You had guys with an extra year of eligibility. There was very little for those seniors coming out. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I almost wonder if, you know, the same thing happened to Jameer Thomas when he came out. He wasn't heavily recruited. He looked a lot better running back than what he was getting credit for. And I almost wonder if they're almost a victim of the program they're in. I mean,
he was an outstanding linebacker. I mean, that was his go-to position.
Yeah, and I just kind of like sit and you look at these running backs that aren't getting big-time offers. I mean, if my math's right, Will Trill is 108 yards away from breaking the all-time Massillon rushing record.
That's no joke.
So, I mean, for him to really not get big looks, it just doesn't make sense. And you got to just kind of think, why is that?
And
do they look at it and say, okay, Drew Sarachman could run close to that type of yardage behind this great offensive line? I mean, they're playing top-tier talent.
And he didn't play much last year because of his injury, too. That's what makes what he's doing so much more impressive.
In most Division I schools aren't offering kids that come on the scene as their senior year.
Right.
And that's unfortunate because, you know, when you get to these elite programs like Massillon, like Hoban, it's tough to get on the field because you might be playing behind a stud. A great example, Diamante Trainum, who's now playing for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Please use him tomorrow if we need him. Please use him tomorrow if we need him. You know, if you're listening, Ryan Day.
You know, has spent 2 years behind Todd Sibley, you know.
All right, we'll take it down here and step aside as we have the playing of our national anthem down on the field by the Massillon Tigers Swing Band. All right, great job by the Massillon Tiger Swing Band down there in all their glory. Drew, real quick first, I have to ask you, you're a former coach here at Archbishop Hoban. Any rhyme or reason to how they line up for the national anthem? I saw they kind of gone from the 30, 35, 40, 45 in 4 lines, kind of stretching out towards the hash mark where most people are on the sideline.
They just want everyone to, make sure they're looking at the flag, and that's just the way they've always lined up.
It's uniform, man.
But it is. They like to do things discipline over there. So before we came on air, we had the coin toss. Hoban won the toss and deferred to the second half, so the Tigers are going to get the ball to start here.
Mark, a guy who always looks good in uniform, by the way. First of all, I want to thank all you guys here before we get ready to kick this thing off. The officials down there at midfield. We're going to get a chance to get this Division II state semi underway here. It's going to be a great night of football. I'm excited to be watching it with you guys. Also excited for the future of Stark Media and what we've been able to accomplish up to this point. I want to thank you guys for all the work that you guys have put in. Jeff and Drew, you guys kind of jumped together last minute right before the season started. I mean, Jeff, really, your thoughts on the entire football season as you've seen it lay out and come all the way to this point?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like you said, it was kind of a last-minute thing, Drew and I getting together, and I knew Drew a little bit before and, met some of the rest of the crew in passing, and for me to feel like we're part of a heck of a team is exciting for me. You and I hung out a couple of times. You're like, hey, you want to come aboard, jump on the radio? And I'm like, I'm not afraid. Let's go. So it's been a great, fun journey and definitely a blast to be with everybody here.
All right, Mark, before we get this thing underway and Hoban kicks the ball off, you and I had a chance to see, we'll talk a little bit more about speed here, Will Charles Hartson, some numbers. I mean, there's a burst there when we saw him against Big Walnut from our vantage point down there at Arlen Field when he took off down the sidelines and he's beating guys like Garrett Stover, who's been offered by pretty much everybody. At that point, is it hard to say, like, the kid's not fast enough?
He has game speed. That's what I'll say about him. Is he 4.4, 4.5? Probably not. But I'll tell you, when he gets out on the football field, kind of like Chris Spillman, when you looked at what he did, was he the fastest guy linebacker that was out there? No, that wasn't the case. But he was just a football player. And he got from point A to point B. He went in straight lines. And that's what Hartson does. I mean, Drew, you talked about it. Mm-hmm. His balance is incredible. Mm-hmm. And rarely, if ever, and I could say this to all three of you guys, I don't think I've ever seen him not fall forward and get yardage.
Yeah.
Well, the Tigers.
Yeah, Tigers are going to take over at their 20.
They've
kickoff one in the end zone.
Couple quick substitutions, I think, out for Hoban. They're shuffling some guys in and out as we get this thing ready to rock and roll. Tigers taking it from their 20. So
Massillon's
we were wondering
in a spread set, which is surprising.
There is a shuffle here across this offensive line on an incomplete pass there by Jalen Slaughter. So interesting here, Sam Snodgrass is not going to get the start. Now, he was one of my picks on the fantasy draft this past week. Okay, so he typically mans the right tackle spot. Evan Sergo is going to start at right tackle. Mike Mercurio will still be at right guard. Your center starting will be Andre Jones. Left guard is going to be Mike Looney Tunes, another carry. Well, that's the first carry for Will Charles Hartson. Nothing going. He gets back to the line of scrimmage. But now you're going to see Marcus Moore. We talked about this when we did the fantasy draft, and we've seen all season long. The Moeller game, Marcus Moore went both ways. After that week, they decided to just keep him on the defensive line. Tonight he's going to start at left tackle.
Yeah, first play of the game, he kind of got pushed back, and Hoban defensive end Bell there knocked down the pass. I'm surprised Massillon's decided to go spread. They kind of got second down. They kind of got ran into a brick wall of Martin, Jason Martin, who they didn't really block well his sophomore year in the state championship game. So Massillon's in a situation they don't want to be in. Third and long off the bat is not where they wanted to be.
Then they get Hoban to jump. They're going to get an easy 5. Looked like Javion Crable coming off the edge, getting started a little bit too early. So
yeah, you think he's excited to play this game?
Well, yeah, I know his dad's got some bad memories about getting penalties in that game that they're playing tomorrow. So you may want to watch out there, number 2, getting started a little bit too early. Jeff, after this play here, I know you got some starters down there for the Hoban defense. I'll have you rattle those off. 3rd and 5 going to come up for the Massillon Tigers as Jalen Slaughter, he's going to look over to the sideline. They're going to have twins right, twins left, and Dorian Pringle has checked in for Will Charles Hartson.
Hoban not really respecting the run game. They got 5 guys in the box.
Going right across.
Oh.
Intercepted early by Slaughter. He's going to get picked off by number 10, Tylen Boykin. And, boy, I'll tell you what, you don't want to give Lamar Sperling in this offense any room extra to start with. Well, they're going to start in plus territory at the 33-yard line of the Tigers. How about instead of doing the defense, we'll do that next. Rattle off this Hoban offense as we just quickly transition to them. But I know their offensive line is led by Drew Holt. He's a pretty good player up front.
They are. Wide receiver, got Jalen Hightower. He's a junior. You got Peyton Cook as a freshman wide out. Javion Crable is a senior. Ricky Williams, a junior. Quarterback, Ja'Kai Long, has become
brought up from West Virginia.
Yeah. Tight end Grant Thompson. Fullback Dominic Bush. And running back Caleb Jones.
Okay, the first thing that sticks out to me is Keon Johnson and all 395 pounds of him at left tackle.
Boy.
I mean,
and they've moved him around. They've moved him around this year. He played guard against St. Vincent St. Mary 2 weeks ago to take care of the defensive tackle there. They just got to delay a game on the first play. So it's funny. First state championship game that Tim Terrell's coaching in. We get the ball to start the game. Very first play, we get a delay of game penalty.
And no shocker,
Lamar Sperling
off tackle.
And big Dorian Pringle. I'll tell you what, Hoban doesn't block Dorian Pringle like they didn't on that play. It's going to be a long night for their running game.
Yeah, the other thing, too, you look at, as we mentioned, Keon Johnson, they're going to put Marcus Moore right between him and his left guard. So left tackle, left guard, you've got a guy who's going to be playing his college football right down there on that field next season.
Empty
Marcus
backfield.
Moore committed to that school and committed to this school, and he's getting locked down there. But as they roll around, you see quarterback will be bottled up quickly. 33, Cody Fair, another guy that I took on my Stark Media fantasy team this year. For him to have to play alongside Dorian Pringle, it forces him to raise his game. And, Mark, I think 33, from what you and I saw, has been as good as any linebacker around this season.
Really physical. I'll tell you what, and I love the way that he goes sideline to sideline, and when he gets to where he's going, he's not in a good mood when he gets there.
10 minutes on the clock in the first quarter. Third down already.
2 third and longs, both offenses.
Should be interesting to see here as they take a shot downfield, forcing this team to pass. And right to the marker. It's going to be about 2 yards shy of the first down marker set at the 23-yard line.
And Hoban's going to go for this. I'm pretty confident.
I'd agree with that.
What do we know about the kicking game for them?
It has been it's been very spotty.
Okay.
Burns takes over for his brother, who was a phenomenal kicker, who's at Kent State now, right?
Right.
Mark, we talked about before the game. So 4th and 2 is something Hoban's pretty comfortable with. I think Massillon's got to be real confident on 4th and 2 usually. My guess is they get the ball to the outside and try to let Lamar find a spot. But, running side to side on 4th and 2 isn't always easy.
Mike Wright, Marcus Moore, and Chase Bond are all going to put their hand in the dirt. And there's a big stuff by Chase Bond.
Wow.
Able to knife in there along with Cody Fair and big number 84.
Big statement.
The namesake of Spirit of Stark owner. DJ Zimmerman,
Tigers
he comes up with a huge play right there.
Huge.
You could kind of tell that, they stuffed those linebackers kind of right at the edge there, Mark, and then had those 3 big boys of, another guy. I guess when you talk about Chase Bond, as he's come back and played really well, you come back and you see how you see what Marcus Moore does. You know what he brings to the table. But a guy like Mike Wright is so strong, and he's only a sophomore. I mean, this dude's got a lot of high school ball left to play.
Boy, he's really good. And when he went down in that game, I forget which one it was that it was against Perry that he went down. How much that changed things for this Massillon defense.
Okay, so I'm wondering here after we get this Wiltraw Hartson carry that's going to get we're going to lose a yard here. He's going to lose a yard. Not able to get back to the 25. He's the 24.
Jason Martin gets all the way down the line from the nose guard to make that tackle. A fast running back. He is a stud.
Okay, so here's all that I want to know right now because I kind of know what's going on, but I don't know what's going on. Who did Sam Snodgrass piss off to have to sit out the first series of the game because he's in there starting to right tackle right now? Who forgot to show up to class on time?
Going to mess up that 3.46 GPA.
Maybe they're going to use both. Is Marcus Moore still in there?
Little jet sweep.
Marcus Moore is out.
And we definitely got a face mask. I don't think they're going to call it.
Wiltraw Hartson falls out to the 30-yard line. That's going to bring up a 3rd and 5. 8 minutes on the clock. It's scoreless. But, yeah, they're going to take Marcus Moore out. So, really, to me, I've been in those situations. Andre Jones ends up starting at center. Now he's going to come out. Brady Jones goes back in. He was your starter all season long, but you see he's got the cap on because he's dealt with some concussion stuff.
So my question, TJ, you've seen Massillon play more than any of us. Is this a little bit different of a game plan than what you've seen out of the gate?
The first series was. And this right here, I mean, they're going to go back to Dorian Pringle.
I'm not sure I like that play. I mean, 3rd and 5, you hand it off to Pringle in the A-gap.
I mean, you're a former offensive coordinator. Does that have anything to do with the interception that you threw before?
Possibly. Maybe they don't want to let him risk it. Maybe he's a little rattled coming off the sideline. This is a huge game, emotional game. But I'd like to think that Jalen Slaughter is no longer a sophomore. With all the games he played last year, with all the games he's played this year.
This is what is probably 28th game starting?
But we talked about it on the fantasy draft and preview of this game, that it's going to come down to these quarterbacks. Neither one's been able to make a play so far.
No return for Hoban. That ball is going to be down at their own 37, we'll call it. Okay, look at numbers for him from this season. And, Mark, for the games that we called here throughout the playoffs, and that was the first 3 of them, we'll start there first. Jalen Slaughter goes 7 of 9, 143 yards, and a touchdown against Perry. Then he comes back, and that was actually the longest touchdown pass he threw all season was to Ardell Banks in that game, who Ardell had 6 for 152 TDs, the 72-yard bomb. Flip it forward. Canal Winchester, he goes 5 of 9, 1 TD, 75 yards. Come back to, that's Austintown Fitch. He didn't have to do a whole lot there, but he was 6 of 10 with 2 interceptions, although they ran the ball for 404 yards. Check it, 406 on the ground. Can't forget those 2 extra yards when you've already gone over 400. But then 8 of 14.
I'll tell you what, this formation, Hoban breaks off a big run. It's exactly what I talked about earlier in the week. Hoban put both fullbacks outside the tackle, and they're making those Massillon defensive backs account for the run game. So they've got the safety has to come up and be the contained man now, and they weren't able to do it. Safety came up, and they get 12 yards on first down.
And for the most part, number 6, Long, he's been pretty efficient when he's had to throw the ball this year.
Yeah.
I like his mechanics. I think he looks
He's
good.
going to throw it here. He's got a wide open guy. That's going to be a touchdown for the Hoban Knights. That's number 36 on the reception, Deion Rogers.
That's a young pup, right?
5'10", 205-pound junior.
Yeah. They don't play him much. He's one of the fullbacks, at Hoban.
He doesn't even have an offensive position listed on the roster.
Yeah, he's one of the fullbacks. So they've played probably since 2015 each year. They run so much power and so much ISO. They go through about 4 or 5 fullbacks each year.
TJ, you'd made the statement that he was a former coach. I think it's like being a Marine. You're never a former Marine. You're never a former coach. You were always a Marine, and you were always a coach.
Yeah.
Wow. Jeff, the one thing that we've kind of rattled around with our guy J.P. Simon throughout the entire year, your extra points up, it's good. It's 7-0 Hoban. But I guess the best way to score on this Tiger defense is to throw the ball. I mean, there's some people out there that will say sometimes very suspect is that secondary when they are thrown on.
And I think this is what happened. So Hoban gave them a formation that the defensive backs had to come up and make a tackle. They get yelled at by the sideline. Hey, they go to that formation. You got to be responsible for that gap. So what do? They run a play action the very next play. The safety steps up, and he's worried about the run game on the play action to fill that gap, and they throw it right down the seam.
Well, that's exactly what we talked about this past week, and the week before that's key, when you got a running back like Sperling back there and you got 7, 8 in the box, I mean, what are you going to do?
Puts a lot of pressure on your defense because here's the thing. Massillon's a too high team, right?
Yep.
You may not be able to play too high. You might have to put that extra guy in the box so you can say, hey, I'm going to put a safety at 15 yards and try to keep him from throwing the ball.
That defensive front is so good that secondary doesn't get tested too much because nobody has a whole lot of time.
You're exactly right, Mark.
7-0
Hoban
lead
made the
here
extra
for Hoban.
point, which has been kind of iffy. This game could come down to
well,
points.
One of the things we talked about was turnovers, of course, is always important. Every game, Massillon's putting it on the carpet a couple of times. Now it's more, from like the quarterback position than anything else. But
going to get a decent return here for the Tigers.
Yeah, decent return, maybe late hit, no call.
It was close.
But, it's going to come down to special teams, I think, as well. Mm-hmm. Massillon has been susceptible to giving up some big plays on special teams. They've just, I think 4 or 5 games they gave up a kickoff return. So
I guess if
they
you can
gotta
take anything positive away from that return, that was Freddie Lennox Jr. out there, and we have not seen a whole lot of Freddie Lennox Jr. this year.
So I talked to Coach Tim Terrell earlier in the week, and Jeff, you talk about their kickoff coverage. Tim said, God, we struggle with that all year long. I'm just happy to see someone else on film struggle with it as much as we did. And right there, Massillon returns it from one corner of the field all the way 32 yards. They're trying to do a return on their own sideline. And I'll tell you what, the Massillon tackles are really struggling with Hoban's defensive ends right now in the run game.
Well, and here's the interesting thing, man. Now, Mark, they've switched back. Now Sam Snodgrass is out of the ball game. They've put Evan Sergo back at right tackle and Marcus Moore is at left tackle. So you've got Andre Jones in there at center as well. We haven't seen a shuffle like this all season long, Mark.
And that's your bailiwick, the offensive line. I never question you about anything that's happening there, but one thing I know for sure, when you watch Jason Martin, number 52 for Hoban, he is the king in the weight room. He owns every weightlifting record over there. TJ, he has a 660 squat.
Wow.
A 660 squat.
I mean, TJ,
over a 400-pound bench.
Yeah, you've played offensive line at the high level. When you've had opening drives where the defense shoves it up your ass, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it on the sideline, you're going to get chewed out, but you
Just got absolutely dropped by number 33 on the defense. That was a smoke shot, Eli Lee.
But, it's more just it's not – sometimes shuffling can make you panic. It's just, hey, settle down.
Yeah.
You talked about Alex Boone before. You had Alex Boone. You had to calm down sometimes and say, hey, all right, young buck, get this going, get this call. So maybe Massillon just needs to settle down a little. Keep running the ball, but those guys just need to settle down.
To me, I'm always just kind of wondering what's going on and why has there been this shuffle up here. Is it to try and keep guys fresh, or is there something else going on? It's hard to say. As Slaughter,
a lot
on
of pressure
third down, he fires it away.
And that might be intentional grounding.
There was nobody there, and he was definitely between the tackles. I think the officials are talking about it, but it's too late now.
In high school football, in the OHSAA, doesn't matter if you're inside, outside. You have to have a receiver in the area. So even if you're outside the pocket, doesn't matter. I think Coach Tim Terrell wants grounding right there. I think they're going to say he got hit as he threw.
Jeff, you got a chance to call a bunch of games here this year with Drew, and as we sit here with 5 minutes remaining in the first quarter and Hoban's up 7-0, did you learn anything about some of his coaching philosophies and what he might do in this situation? Is this a gas pedal moment when you're up 7-0? And most likely you're going to get good field position barring anything crazy here.
You know what? If I'm Drew, right, first play of the game is a play action over the top again. Yeah. Guarantee it.
Yeah. It depends where you get the ball, but
you're going to get it at your own 43-yard line.
This is absolutely a spot where I see something on film. I know they line up to a formation. Maybe we haven't run the formation in a couple weeks, so they're going to line up to it exactly how they have earlier in the season, and I try to take a shot. But, I think they'll stick with the RPO stuff. Talked to Matt Saunders before the game, the offensive coordinator. He said, our RPO game is designed to go against a 3-4 defense. That's where we started it. And Massillon, that's what they're in a lot of times. But I think Massillon's just got to calm down right now. I don't think there's a talent disparity out here or anything like that. They've got to calm down. I mean, the first drive, they really
a little bit of nerves, maybe.
Hoban's butt there. And, I mean, they're
I think the thing
that's the ability.
Is concerning, I think, for Massillon right now is that Hoban is stopping them with only 6 in the block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's the most concerning thing for me.
Chase Bond had an attempt. Check that. Mike Wright had an attempt on Sperling in the backfield. He missed. He gets about, we'll call it 5 yards out across the 45, but a flag comes flying in. All right, here's your starting defense for the Massillon Tigers. We talked about those interior linemen of Mike Wright Jr., Marcus Moore, and Chase Bond, but outside of them, it's going to be Maverick Clark and Brandon Carmen. In the middle, Dorian Pringle and Cody Fair, probably as good of a pair of linebackers as there are in the state of Ohio. And then in the secondary, Mark, Ryan Page, De'Aaron Pringle, Zach Liebler, Jaden Welch. It's a group that really kind of gets overlooked. Jaden Welch has probably been the most seasoned guy back there, but you can see that there was an effort early here with that touchdown being on the board to attack those guys.
Absolutely, and if he gets time to throw the football, bad things are going to wind up happening in that secondary.
Long, he's going to fake the reverse, and now he's
wide
open
again.
And there goes Crable. Javion Crable's going to cruise into the end zone.
My.
This thing's going to potentially get to 14-0. Right now it's going to sit 13-0. And
there's my play action over the top, fellas.
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing there. So I've watched a lot of Hoban film. They haven't showed that formation in the last 3 weeks. So Massillon is just probably going to line up to it the way they did some. So Hoban probably saw, hey, we're going to reverse this, play action right down the field. Again, the safeties are up in the run game because they're worried about Sperling, and they let it go right down the seam. Two seam shots.
And Crable was so wide open there. How hard is it sometimes for a quarterback just to get the ball there because you don't want to overthrow it? He just threw it out there, let him run underneath.
And he's used to those guys running full speed too, but this is not good now.
Mark, you're a man who likes the horse game. We call you the pony. I mean, there was a few lengths behind the most recent defender who would have been behind Javion. I mean, that was a tough one right there. So as you sit here 14-0 with 4:39 remaining, I mean, we saw what Hoban was able to do to Hudson last week in terrible conditions, but they were out 30-0. That was before halftime, right?
Yeah, like I said, so this Hoban team has only really been healthy, like we talked about it on, for the last 3 weeks on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
So what that does, if they're playing at a high level, this offense is good. It's not. I don't know if it's a great offense. It's a very good offense, but when the expectation of the defense is only to give up 10 points, you're thinking, it makes you a lot more comfortable on offense. You get more aggressive. When the defense is playing well, you can be aggressive. But if I'm Massillon right now, I just calm down. Nate Moore gets them. Everybody calm down. Let's run the football like we've been doing. Let's go back to be what we're doing. There's plenty of time to get back in this game.
Right. There's no 14-point touchdowns that you're going to get.
Yep. So just run your offense. Make Hoban come up and make tackles. Run the ball on them like you've been doing all year.
Well, we talked about this game beforehand. They said, what did you think the score? And I said, I'm not going to give you a score.
No.
I said, but could it be a blowout? I said, it could be a blowout if one team imposes its will on the other and forces them to have to throw the football.
Right.
Because that's not the forte for either one of these teams.
Yep.
Scoreboard update, fellas. You got St. Ed's on the board first, 7-0 over Lincoln in the first quarter.
And I'll tell you what, Hoban, Coach Tim Terrell loves seeing that ball go out of the end zone on kickoffs, as Coach Nate Moore does. But I'd like to see Hoban or Massillon run the ball here. Be patient.
Got to get back to what's gotten you here, and eventually get yourself into a position, Mark, where we've seen it enough that you can take your own home run shot with Ardell Banks.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what, he can stretch the field too.
He sure can.
And what the quarterback from Massillon likes to do, he loves to throw that fade pattern down the sidelines. That's his pass to throw to. Now, with that being said, when you get safety help over the top, that ball has been underthrown a lot of times. He reacts. He can pick those passes off, and a lot of times those passes have been underthrown.
All right, fourth series of the ball game now as Jalen Slaughter is bottled up again, gets back to the line of scrimmage, doesn't pick up any yards. Okay, so they've gone back, no Sam Snodgrass. They will put back in Brady Jones, so he comes back in for Andre Jones. Marcus Moore is still going to be out there at left tackle as it sits 14-0 with 4 minutes remaining.
We're 3 drives into the game. Will Troll Hartson's had 1 carry.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And we were all over here talking about most likely in this game he's going to break the record. Now there's a lot of football left here, I think, but Will Troll Hartson's just going to block there, and that's not going to do anything.
These Massillon tackles are really struggling with Hoban on the edge right now. They went down 14-0 to St. Ed's. And it was kind of like Nate Moore brought them all together and said, all right, let's calm down.
Yeah.
The defense stepped up and kept getting stops and allowed that offense to get back into the game. But this reminds me kind of like that. You know what I mean? They're kind of not sure what they're doing on offense right now.
And that's not a good place to be when you're in the Division II state semifinal.
Yeah.
It's not really a place that you want to be. And you look at who was in the Division II state semis last year. It was Avon versus Hoban. Winton Woods would take on Green after Green had knocked off Massillon, and there goes some speed getting to Slaughter again. He's able to complete
catch.
A first down pass to Braylon Tolles. He's going to get it out across the 35-yard line, so enough to move the sticks. But Drew, I mean, I'm keying in here as you mentioned the speed, Mark. You talked about the tackles; they're having trouble hanging on here, and boy, coming off that edge there in hot pursuit, Jalen Slaughter, if he hangs on to that thing one more second, that's not getting out of his hands.
Right. I'll tell you what, that is a great. That now Hartson finally gets a carry, but that is a great passing. That's a great job of scouting because they know, Hoban likes to go man-to-man in those situations, those 3rd and longs, and they ran that deep comeback. They held it on long enough, protected it, and he completed it. That's a phenomenal play call by Massillon.
And is that coming down the line from Catfish Kale? Your
Maybe
guy.
Troxler, yeah.
Coach Troxler and Cale Miller have done a really good job this year with these guys. And, the tough thing, you get into, and I always refer back to some of my Ohio State days, but that there's only one football. So, there's a lot of guys that – how many targets do you think Ardell Banks would like to have per game? But there's other guys that you can get into, Wiggins, Tolles. Slaughter's going to give a quick one to Wiltraw Hartson. It's incomplete.
Hoban, they love
third down up again
to bring pressure on 2nd and long or 1st and 10 because they say, okay, we'll go against anybody on 3rd and long.
Tell us about this defensive staff.
So Renzi Parnell, the defensive coordinator. A lot of people know about James Harrison, who played at Kent State.
He wasn't bad.
Yeah, so the linebacker on the other side.
Late bloomer.
The linebacker on the other side was Renzi Parnell.
Okay.
Garfield grad. He's been with Tim Terrell here at Hoban for 12 years. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal defensive coordinators. He's had a lot of head coaching job offers, but his son just graduated playing baseball at Cincinnati. But this staff is very good. You got a McKinley grad as
Braylon Tolles is going to get loose. Gets loose on a nice screen pass.
And that's Massillon taking advantage of Hoban's aggressiveness. They love to be aggressive. That's
well, I'll tell you what, and even outside of the aggressiveness, you are going to have to change up the cadence here throughout this ball game. And Drew, you and I have kind of been around the block at times before where it's like, can I really change the cadence? Are my guys actually going to hold their water if we go on 2? Because the last thing you want to do is go back 5 yards, but you're using it to your advantage. That nose guard was between left guard and center before the ball was even snapped.
It's because they're doing the clap.
Yep.
It's so easy.
Wiltraw Hartson, he's going to try and get through right guard, pick up 5.
You see them calming down now, running the ball, taking advantage of Hoban's aggressiveness, throwing the screen. But, like I was going to say, McKinley, you've got a McKinley grad on this Hoban staff, Jeff Smith.
Yeah.
84, I believe.
Smitty's a good dude, man. Is working with the secondary, right?
Mm-hmm. How much this drive helps that Massillon defense, too?
Oh, huge. To make adjustments, huge.
Catch their breath, too.
The emotion, the adrenaline, all that to be able to slow down a little bit. Wiltraw Hartson comes up the middle again, nothing going. They've got to figure out a way to try and punch a hole in the middle of this defense.
33, this linebacker for Hoban, Eli Lee. He's a sophomore.
He's a hitter, man.
He's had some nice plays. Their linebackers plays.
Ricky Williams is a hitter too, man. He came up there and he popped Will Trell
so Ricky Williams,
dead in his tracks. He didn't take him down, but he stonewalled him.
He's their leading receiver last year. He gained 35 pounds in the offseason. They're like, well, we got to play him at linebacker.
Wow.
But
Coach
I love
Winkler.
this.
Damn weight coach they got there.
Yeah, I love this Massillon drive right now.
Except they're going to be faced with another 3rd and long, 3rd and 7 with $1:20 remaining.
And this is a formation here. So they're going tight end to one side, wing to the other. Doesn't allow Hoban to be aggressive because they've got to cover those extra gaps. So
Coach Moore is going to burn a timeout.
With the timeout, gives me a chance to give you an update here. Toledo Central Catholic up 7-0 over Kings Knights.
Where are they playing that game at, guys? Is that Mansfield?
I'll tell you in 1 second here.
Or
Crew
Columbus? Is
Columbus
Crew,
Crew
right?
Stadium.
They're
Crew?
playing
Okay.
at
Columbus Crew Stadium.
Ford Field, Mercy Health, Ford Field.
That must be the historic
Maybe, yeah. I thought it was Crew Stadium.
Stadium.
They-
It's not called that anymore. though.
They've kind of shifted around some names. Back when I played in it in the All-Star game, it was Grange Insurance. Then it was Crew has kind of flipped around with the Major League Soccer stuff that's been there, and they've built a brand new soccer facility down there for the Major League Soccer team.
Yeah,
in
downtown,
Columbus,
right?
in downtown, man. And
How'd
there's
they
so much good stuff going on in Columbus tomorrow. I mean,
You'll be there.
it's going to be an absolute zoo.
I'll tell you what, I like the Buckeyes' chances.
I do,
I liked
too.
it before, and now with Blake Corum
Going down.
banged up,
So that's the thing. He will play, but he's not going to be 100%, right? I mean, last week he was clearly hurt in that game against Illinois.
and he's everything. Yeah, Massillon coming in that same formation. I love this formation.
3rd
for
and 7 for him. Trailing by 2 scores. They're going to need to pick this thing up here at midfield. Slaughter, he's going up top. He's looking for the home run shot.
Oh my God, he short-armed it.
You know what?
Ardell Banks is looking at himself
He
like,
looked
man.
up and slowed down because that was a perfect ball.
Yes, it was.
And on the coverage over there, I believe is number 8, and that is one of your former teammates' son, right? C. Grant.
Oh, yeah. C. Willie.
Not
C.
bad
Grant's,
coverage either.
C. Willie was a great DB down there at New Philadelphia. After he was a Quaker, he was a Buckeye, and
The Fighting Quakers.
he got down there with Coach Kennedy and his weightlifting program, and he became a linebacker real quick.
I like having 2 guys back on a punt, too, because too many times I'm seeing these teams allowing these balls to hit and roll.
Oh,
Yeah, and you got to catch it. He doesn't catch that roll. That rolls down to maybe the 5-yard line.
Yep, and the percentages really just starting 7 yards back, on the 10-yard line or 11 yards is a huge disadvantage for the offense. But I'll tell you what, Massillon, although they did not get points, they flipped the field position.
Yep.
They gave the defense a break, and they got some confidence because they started running the ball and hitting some plays. They're going to come back to that fade out of the slot.
Yeah.
That's something I haven't seen Massillon throw. They don't throw the fade out of the slot much, right?
Now,
So-
the one thing, you two were down there on the field like I was. Jeff, you didn't make it down
Nope.
there to the field, did
Nope.
you? But, those lights, the way they hit down there on that field.
Yeah,
you
they're
look
high.
up top there, and those things, I'll tell you what, they are burning really strong down there. So who knows that Ardell Banks, and maybe when he looked back there, and that caused him to kind of misstep that. But that's definitely one that they should have had there, and that would have gone for a touchdown.
I'll tell you what, you look at Hoban here on offense, look at the size of their splits. That just shows you, you as an offensive lineman, the bigger the split is, the more difficult it can be sometimes to scoop those. How much confidence they've got in that group.
Yeah, when you've turned out over 3,500 yards on the ground with your running back, and they're going to
They love that wheel
they're gonna
route.
shoot downfield again, and boy,
Ooh, little
good
contact.
shot. Jaden Welch was out there on
Great
the
job
coverage.
by Welch. He's played well all year.
Boy,
I think they dropped an extra defender back there that time.
had a couple guys open there. Pick your receiver. Hey, you guys seem to think that, when you look at the region that Massillon was coming out of, I don't think it was very strong.
I agree.
And when you get into this game with the physicality and the speed that's down there, do you think that caught them off guard a little bit?
I think maybe the speed of the secondary. I think the only person that affects is the quarterback, because the quarterback is seeing the speed he saw in the secondary against Perry and Big Walnut and Canal Winchester is not the speed that he sees in the
No,
Hoban secondary.
not even close.
And I think that has something to do with it. I don't think the front seven makes a difference.
Tigers bring heat. Maverick Clark's going to get to Sperling along with Dorian Pringle, so that's a big stop there on third down. So the Tigers,
9 out of 10 Tigers made that tackle.
And here's another example, too, of these both teams maybe not having a lot of confidence in your quarterback. That's 3rd and 10. Hoban doesn't put the ball in the air there.
Right. But Tim is conservative in that regards. He'll do that a
Sometimes,
lot.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see
got a
what
little bit of
Crable
that Jim
does here.
Tressel ran off
Well,
on
he-
him.
Oh,
he
yeah.
d- What did Tressel say about the punt?
Well, support play in the game.
There you go. And I'll tell you what, and Crable's the punter now. This is the 3rd different punter that they've had this year. And, talking to the coaches down there, they said that he's been doing a better job punting. But I'll tell you what, he played against St. V. I saw some shanks that went like 20 yards.
He had a line drive that I thought was going to the house, and Hoban's long snapper made a phenomenal tackle shoestring. But if he hits a line drive to these Massillon returners, it'll be in Hoban territory or in a hurry.
Mark, I'm glad it's wintertime and not golf season with you saying the S word out loud like that. I don't even like hearing that word.
I have that. I have a shank club in my bag. It's called an iron.
I go, wait, did I see something other than shank?
You guys got to stop saying that word.
Are we going down to Sparta afterward for some lamb shanks?
Oh, I would love to.
All right, so Hoban's going to start with the ball on their own 19-yard line to start the second quarter, up 14-0.
Another score update, guys. Canfield up 14-7, still in the first quarter.
I'll tell you what, I watched that Canfield team last week.
They're good.
That defense is unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Now, the quarterback, Lowry, he goes over there and plays safety too, correct?
And he is a college safety. He could play probably Division II college quarterback, but so from what I was understand last week, he's got Notre Dame really interested in him as safety, and this is probably one of Crable's better punts.
So Liebler gets a return after the Hoban Knights. Nope, check, that's going to be number 20 out there on the return. Nope, that is 10. That's Liebler. He's going to get the return after the Knights punted it from their own 19-yard line. So, as you mentioned, Slaughter and his offense are going to get to start with it in Hoban territory at the 49-yard line. And this is kind of what you've set yourself up here for, especially after you missed a big opportunity last time. You've got to put points on the board
And that's
here.
what flipping the field position does for you.
And, they got the ball out of Slaughter's hands a lot quicker last time. They were getting tons of pressure. That slowed that defensive line down a little bit now. So maybe they can get some of the running game going now at this
That's
point.
a good point, Jeff.
Boy, still no Snodgrass out there, man. My second pick at the offensive line at the Hall of Fame.
Well, you got to talk about the draft. We haven't even.
Yeah, we're gonna dive into it here after the Tigers punch
There
one
you
in.
go.
There goes
Like
Will
I said, get
Charlson.
that running
Big
game.
run going across the 40 inside to the 35-yard
And
line.
I'll tell you what, they ran. This is what teams, when they've had success running the ball this year, They say, all right, Javion Crable, you're an athlete out there on the edge, but do you want power running at you? And they ran power right at Javion Crable and right off tackle there.
Hey, it's Michigan Ohio State
And
week,
now
man. That's where I'd run it
you
too.
see Hoban immediately change the front after that. Now
Where
they're
they
on a
got
6-man front.
6 guys across that front. Hartson, he's going
Nice
to run
cut.
right into it. Cuts at the right time, picks up 2.
But they immediately change that front. You know, they're not messing around either. All right, you got us. Now we got to change.
He's the ultimate utility guy, though, for Hoban. When you look at all that he can
Yeah.
play, quarterback, tight end, linebacker.
He's a football
punter.
player.
That's what
Absolutely.
exactly what Tim said.
Yeah, he's a football player. A lot like kids we covered earlier this year. Jack Talkington, Will Butler, those types of kids, you know, they're just football players.
Coach T's going
Thank
to
you
call
very much.
timeout.
I'll tell you what, Massillon always does it first class with the stats, giving you everything you need. I mean, they are a first-class program.
Knights are going to burn a timeout here before Drew rattles off a couple of those stats, man. We're going to talk about a couple of our sponsors here this season that kind of made it possible for us to do everything we've done with our friends over at iHeartRadio here on the Stark Media Team YouTube channel, which Jeff and Drew kind of manned down, but it all really started with our friends out of North Canton, C.H. Vallis and Associates. Check them out at 1302 South Main Street. Call them at 330-494-2776 for all your home, auto, life, and financial service needs. Our friends at Kishman's Fresh Market, locations in Minerva and Malvern. Check them out. Check out my guys right down the road from here at McNeil & Sons Tree Service out of the Portage Lakes area. Call them at 330-606-1126. Also, our good buddies that we'll talk about throughout this evening. Mark already mentioned our friends in the Marines. Oh, the Leathernecks Nation MC, a motorcycle club here, a chapter, local chapter, Veterans Helping Veterans, and the Sam Center of Massillon, the Save 22 organization, all made up of former Marines. They've done a ton for us here, and they continue to push the ball down the field for us. We'll talk about finally HereOhio.com with our player of the game as we get closer to the end of this game. Still 10 minutes and 55 seconds on the clock here in the first half. Slaughter, he's rolling up. He's going to fire a pass complete to the 25. They make it to the 20-yard line. So now the Massillon Tigers have made it into the red zone for the first time tonight.
Tell you what, Slaughter's doing a nice job of throwing the ball on the run, awkward throws, and getting the ball in there.
He's calmed down a little.
Yep, settle down.
They're knocking on the red door clothier door there, the red zone, huh?
Well, we had a little bit of a switch up there because when we brought our guy Lindsay's Pizza on, man, I had to give him the red zone there because we had to talk about that great pizza.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
What's your go-to there at Lindsay's Pizza?
The red sauce.
Pepperoni sausage for me.
Anything with carbs. There goes
Nice.
Voltrell. He's
Huge
got a
block
clear
there.
path to the end zone. See if he
Got
gets
it.
5-10
I'll tell
into
you
the
what.
end zone for number 4.
That's Dorian Pringle all the way. He took whoever the outside linebacker was, drove him 7 yards downfield to contain man, and buried him.
That's a beautiful run there by
Division I
Wiltrell
block.
Hartson. 31 TDs on the season for him now. So it's 14-6. We'll see who they decide to use as their kicker here. It's actually going to be Hendricks tonight. They have rotated Vinny Keller in there as well.
I tell you what, I give that drive to Slaughter, to be honest with you. The last 4 balls he's thrown on the run.
And this has happened all throughout the postseason here for the Massillon Tigers. I mean, you got to be able to knock down those extra points, and they've gone back and forth between him and Vinny Keller, and now Nolan Hendricks. He shanks one.
Someone predicted a 1-point game here in this.
I did. Who did? You did 28-27?
Yeah, I
all right.
But
I said 31-24.
Oh, yeah.
You can go for
But
2.
You're right, Jeff. Jalen Slaughter.
Hey, my 14-7's out the door.
Hey, you never know. Last time they played in the stadium, it was 17-14.5, and no one scored another point in that game.
Yep.
But Jalen Slaughter on that huge long third down conversion, you know, when he makes those types of throws, this Massillon offense is unstoppable. That's exactly what happened in the second half of the St. Ed's game. He got hot, and they couldn't stop Massillon.
What do we say it did? Is it put them on their heels?
Yep.
They can't fire in there as much.
So listen to this. In the first quarter, both teams, we talk about how good these run offenses were and run defenses. Both teams combined for 22 yards rushing. Now, Massillon, I think, in this quarter alone, probably ran for about 35 yards there. But the other huge difference is Hoban, the 2 chunk plays, 50-yard and 64-yard pass plays.
You got to watch for an onside kick. I know, as crazy as that sounds.
Or the pooch, at least.
Yeah.
There's the pooch.
Returned from the 16-yard line by number 12 of Hoban. He shuffles.
I'll tell you what, he's swinging that ball around. That's dangerous. If I'm Massillon, I'd do that every time after watching that kid swing the ball around like that.
Got to protect the rock.
So this is a huge drive for Hoban here to flip the field.
That play was made by a freshman, too, Jaden Williams. There's a lot of guys that we see special teams-wise for the Massillon Tigers that we don't call their names much, but that was a freshman, 6-foot, 180-pounder, Jaden Williams. That was a nice play. Marcus Moore, Mike Wright, Chase Bond still across that defensive line. They haven't made any substitutions here defensively. It's been the same group from the start.
Now, Hoban shifted out of this formation last time, and that's when they hit their big run and the touchdown pass two drives ago, actually.
Ryan Page is going to play center field.
Ooh.
Big high snap pulled down. Sperling gets it, but he's gobbled up by Mike Wright Jr. 14-6 ball game. Appreciate everybody tuning into us here on the Stark Media YouTube channel. TJ Downing, Mark Milano, Drew Sarachman, Jeff Tyler. Happy to be alongside you here with the D2 semis. Have some other special guests coming up and joining us here throughout the evening. We'll talk a lot about our Stark Media Fantasy Draft over at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That was a fun time with you guys, man.
Yeah, my boy Dorian Pringle, one of my picks, is playing really well right now. Had a huge block on the touchdown run.
You're making some
He's
money
probably
tonight.
About 6 or 7 tackles.
You might be getting paid tonight, man. That's big money there.
Great protection there.
Great offensive
very
reception out at the 36.
I'll
First
tell you
down
what,
for Knights.
Massillon's going to have to get some pressure because he's struggled this year. He's thrown a lot of, I think, 6 interceptions all under pressure this year. And if they let him sit back there and deliver that football, that's going to be scary. But, you know, both quarterbacks, we talked about, have to play, make plays. And we've had, you know, Slaughter threw an early pick, led to points. And Ja'Kai Long seems accurate so far. But then now Slaughter's coming back and playing well.
Clean pocket. He's able to step up into it. You do those things, everybody's going to look good back there throwing the football.
Great.
Sperling gets away from Marcus Moore.
He's slippery, huh?
There you go. He should have been stopped back there.
I'll tell you what, though, that's something Sperling hasn't seen this year. When he's making people miss, it's 3 yards downfield, not 1 yard in the backfield. So if Massillon continues to do that, but the key is going to be there after they break that tackle, do exactly what they did there. Is all 11 hats run to the football. Because, you know, as the game goes along and you don't get those guys running the football, that's when he could break them. But Massillon, last drive and this drive, doing a good job keeping Hoban back towards the chains, the end of the chains. Get him in 3rd and long situations.
See if Hoban throws that little middle screen.
Yeah, they love that. There's the RPO action to the flats, to the freshman.
Nice tackle by Jaden Welch, but not after they pick up a first down at the 50.
Parker's good.
Here's the problem with the RPO is, you know, in high school it's easier even than college. You've got a 2-yard cushion, you know, to go downfield on a pass play. If he rides out, are they going to call a hold? I thought it was a legal man downfield. 74 was 5 yards down the field. But, you know, these linemen get going. They get a good run
Johnson
block.
made it 5 yards downfield, man. He had a Big Mac down there. That is a big fella at left tackle.
And
That's a massive offensive
line.
line.
Downfield, and 5-yard penalty.
And I can't remember if it was you that told me this earlier this week, but this offensive line has gotten a lot better from what they were last year.
Oh, yeah. They really struggled up front last year. I mean, look at that state championship game alone. Winton Woods just ran the ball down. Or, you know, they couldn't run the ball against them, and then they ran the ball down their throat, so they got better up front on both sides. So here's an unbalanced set here.
2 pulling guards go right, and that's where Lamar Sperling follows, but Jaden Welch is there, and he's going to force it back into De'Air Pringle. So
Great job.
Good job bottling it up.
So this formation, Hoban scored 2 touchdowns out of the first time they met in the playoffs back in 2018 in the state championship game. It's trips to the left. You've got an empty backfield, and you've got tight end wing to the short side. Okay, so in the first state championship game, they hit a long touchdown run on power, and then they threw it down to the trip side when Massillon adjusts. But it's another example of making those defensive backs cover gaps. You know, so Massillon did a great job. They've seen that formation before.
Scoring update, Kings 14, Central Catholic 14.
Oh, wow,
Squared
big
it
ball
up.
game on there. Crable
Javion
gets on.
Crable.
He's going to the 50. He's going to try and get it across inside the 40. Stiff arm. Big, old, nasty stiff arm on Jaden Welch. Gets him all the way down to the 11-yard line. That, my friends,
I didn't think Javion Crable had that wheels.
Call-
The Massillon defender's a
I
yard
didn't know
behind
he
him.
had the strength. I mean, he lifted Jaden Welch up off the ground and carried him.
Call
He
the
forced him back
chiropractor.
in.
I mean, he jacked that neck up big time with that forearm.
I don't know if his
So-
arms are as long as his dad's are, but it looked like it there.
TJ, what do
He's
you
got a little more heart, but
I've always thought this watching football, right? Whenever, obviously, on the defensive side, you can't go to the face at all.
Yes.
Right? But
On
you've got to
offense.
play like that. You're running the rock. You have a nice catch and you're taking off running, but you can go straight to the face on that defender.
Throw a haymaker. I agree with you, Jeff.
I don't
That's
agree with
terrible.
that's allowed.
I agree with you, Jeff.
is that how easy it was for you guys all season
Lamar
long? It's
Sperling.
pretty easy for Lamar Sperling. He gets in the end zone easy there. Were you guys in agreement
no.
that much all
Saunders
season
was
long?
losing
No,
his
not at
head.
all.
You know,
We had a couple
I heard a
Ohio
couple
State
battles.
Michigan moments. Had a
You guys
couple
had some
Ohio State
battles?
Michigan
Oh,
moments.
hey, listen,
The
Jeff,
biggest battle was at Northwest when the kid kicked the ball out of the back of the end zone.
those officials, yeah, that was,
I still think it's the smartest play I saw all year, and he hated it.
yeah. But Jeff took care of me. I mean, he always had our stuff ready,
I will tell you
a
this,
lot of
man.
scouting reports.
You know, Jeff was responsible for drawing up our caricatures and done some graphic stuff for us. But you know what? When it comes to the preparation side of your guys' two deeps, and you've done it for Walsh basketball, you did it for the crossover when we had the Great Lakes Valley Conference and the GMAC, and you do it now. I mean, you've got your perfect you've got your own writing style, and you know what, man? I think I kept your Alliance two deeps that you made. Just I was like,
Yeah.
if I see Alliance again, I'm operating off of this.
Yeah. Well, that comes in, I go with you guys that are been experts on calling it all the time. I need as much information in front of me as possible
He's
to look
the expert.
halfway decent.
No expertise here, man. I just call it like I see
What
it.
I like about Drew is I would call a wrong route. He would just nicely correct me. I'm like, all right, that's cool.
well,
Hey, I didn't get a chance to watch you do your thing until we did that St. Thomas playoff game down against Toronto and listen to you in the press box.
Yeah.
Wow.
When we had to have our finger on the mute button there.
Well,
'Cause,
no,
I'm
and
a
that's
Coach,
okay.
fiery
Coach
guy.
Sarachman is a little bit different than
Animated,
broadcaster Sarachman.
And that's it. But the knowledge that you had and the things that you were saying, I mean, I was so impressed with what you had to say. And just being up here right now, Jeff, I'd say I envy you having somebody like that can pick apart these offenses. And not that TJ can, but he's that lineman, and he's the guy that always wants to throw that home run ball. He could be down and go, oh, yeah, you got to go deep right here.
well, it's easier to do it what I'm doing right here, to say things after the fact and watch it. But no, I mean, I had a lot of fun going back to our alma mater there. Those
He
last
didn't draft
year.
anybody from St. Thomas this year, did you?
No, but hey, I'm a results-based guy. You got to show me. And they do have some nice players. The young Beer kid's pretty good player there. But
Who's the big offensive lineman that we saw? Was it Anthony Battle?
yeah, Anthony Battle.
Big number 75.
He's more of a basketball kid.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
He's a project for
when-
somebody.
When we got a chance to see Leishman, I mean, he was a basketball guy, and I think they kind of counted on. They needed some of those basketball guys.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
dudes that
numbers, yeah.
they haven't played football, so basically they're still learning the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was tough to watch. I know both of you guys hate to hear it, but I mean, Central, I had a really good football team this year, and so
I
in
hear
that
static in
battle,
my head,
Yeah.
son.
it
What is
was.
this?
When does Central
But
not have a
but
good
but
football team?
but the one thing I will say though is St. Thomas never gave up in that ball game,
No.
and Will Charles Hartson, he gets stuffed back at the
And
20.
this, that play right there. So Massillon gets hit right in the goes right in the teeth of the Hoban defense. Goes for a 2-yard loss. But that's kind of what we talked about on our fantasy draft shows. There's going to be drives that one team's running the ball, and then the very next drive you can't get anything, and that just goes to speak how good these staffs are because the adjustments they make within the game. I mean, I think, obviously I think highly of the Hoban staff because I was part of it. A lot of these guys have been there from the beginning. But the staff Nate Morris put together is absolutely phenomenal, for a public school. Obviously Massillon football is important and they fund it well, but
Almost picked.
what a phenomenal staff Coach Nate Morris put together over there.
Well, you got Catfish, Kale.
Kale,
Miller,
Troxler.
yeah.
So ultimately, then that ends up to guys potentially being looked at for some open positions. You got Louisville, you've got Manchester, you've got local stuff around the area. That hey, if I'm an AD, if I'm a super, I'm plucking from staff like this.
I'll tell you what. If I'm the Manchester, if I'm an administrator at Manchester, Cale Miller lived around there. I believe he has kids in the district there. I'd be making that call. And Massillon, they had a receiver wide open on the seam, and Slaughter threw the ball down the numbers and was almost picked off again. But
that went right through his hands.
TJ, if I'm Louisville, I am buying Drew's wife, Lauren, a couple diamonds, and I am getting him back on the football field.
And your lovely wife is here, so everybody knows she's up in the press box with us here. She made this broadcast look better.
You keep bringing up that Louisville talk, she's going to punch you.
I'll throw a couple of diamond rings at her and say, let's go, Drew. You won't see your husband for about 8 months.
I was gonna say I could see like spinning in her head over there. It's like a carrot cut, clarity, and all that stuff. Is that got that yellow tint to it? Oh yeah, Tigers gonna have to punt. They're gonna let it loose from their own 15. That's Hendricks on the punt. Be returned. And Hoban's able to slip out of a tackle at the 45, and they're able to return it all the way down to the Tigers' 41-yard line. So right there, you just do the math. That was a 14-yard difference in where he should have been tackled to where he's able to get. And that's good field position here for Lamar Sperling in the offense. 5:55 remaining in the half. 21-6 lead for Hoban.
You know, you talk about that Louisville job, and Louisville is, you know, people have called it before mini Massillon, you know, but football's important over there. And I know Mark and I think there's a guy that would probably be perfect for that Louisville job.
Yeah, no names right now, but yes.
Is this breaking news?
No, it's not.
We're getting trolled. We're getting trolled right now.
There's a guy that's had a lot of success in Stark County as a head coach. If I'm Louisville, I am making things happen. But, you know, I mean, it's always tough on programs when you change. And it's tough on coaches. I mean, Troy Davis, you know, obviously, you know, there was some criticism there that I had of, you know, things that they were doing, but it's not easy. He walked into a tough position. Mm-hmm. You know, he was humble, took that role, and, you know, coached those kids and took care of those kids. And, you know, you got to respect the job that he did there. Playing out of league, I mean, no league, and they're playing Steubenville in a federal league. And, I mean, it's not an easy job at Louisville right now.
Sperling gets a carry. He's going to get a big burst across the 40. There he goes. He might be gone if Liebler doesn't get him. Liebler with a shoestring tackle at the 50. But even as he shoestring tackled him at Hoban's own 49, Sperling falls forward all the way down to the 46-yard line. And you're right, it doesn't make sense. It's like video game, it's like Tecmo Ball. I mean, he's bouncing off of dudes and just keeps going.
What was that? R1, L1, circle X?
That's why he's going to be Mr. Ohio.
Trigger stick got hit right there. I mean, he's just hitting guys, bouncing off of them. And maybe like you said, Drew, because he's that 5'8", 5'9" body style, that he does play low. He is very explosive. And a lot of that, Mark, that goes back to the weight room stuff that they're doing here with Winkler.
And he can hide behind that offensive line, too.
Yeah, go behind Keon. That's
Massillon
like
kind of
you
a
could
different
put three
look now.
Sperlings behind Keon.
Massillon, a different look defensively.
Sperling jukes him out. He breaks the tackle
balance
of Ryan Page. Ryan Page had him dead to rights. It would have only been a 5-yard pickup. He turns it into a 15-yard pickup and moves the stick. So the Hoban Knights already down to the 30-yard line of the Tigers. And we know that Hoban is going to get the ball back to start the second half, too. So, you know, guys, this thing could get ugly right here. If Hoban scores here, stretches it out 28-6, and then gets the ball back to start the second half.
One thing I notice right now is a defense is in trouble when the most successful part of their defense starts changing things that they've done the whole year.
Yeah.
So that last play there, they put 2-3 techniques outside eye of the guards, defensive tackles. So they went to an even front. They've been an odd front the entire year, you know, and they made a miss there. And I like the idea, you know, to stop off tackle, but the execution wasn't
Sperling
there.
Got smoked by Chase Bond.
There's been a lot of bad snaps tonight.
Yeah, to Hoban.
Chase Bond, a Stark Media fantasy draft pick for Coach Sarachman.
Yep. I've got 3 of that Massillon Tiger
front
7.
I'm
Chase Bond, Marcus Moore, Dorian Pringle.
Seemed like every time we drew out of there, you guys got the first pick.
I told Jeff earlier, I said, dude, I looked at your roster. You didn't have any Massillon Tigers on there. He's like, you guys kept taking them. He's like, but I probably could have used a couple more of them.
Well, you know, I did pick Hoban to win this game, and I didn't want, you know, Mrs. Becca Moore to get too mad at me, so I had to take some of her boys.
You got one problem, TJ, though.
And not to mention they're phenomenal football players.
TJ, you got Drew DeShields, you got Will Trail Hartson. How are you going to pay Colton Arnold? You're way over salary cap, bro.
I know, seriously. Colton thankfully has moved on to the wrestling stuff. We're going to talk about some of the wrestling platforms that we'll be launching here at Stark Media. Should be a pretty fun time. I know he set the record last year in the county for most pins in a season at 34. Wow. He's going to try and break that, but his biggest issue right now is he's going to have to go against the kid from Perry, Aiden Faulkner, who I think finished top 8 in the state last year, and then the guy at Wadsworth, when Mark, that was you and I, we went up there to have lunch with your son, and we just happened to walk in there. I spoke to the class.
Yes,
with
you did.
And I spoke to his lacrosse class.
You should have seen this. Him talking to lacrosse guys.
Yeah, like,
it was priceless.
I'll tell you what.
When he comes across the middle, check his ass.
For Colton Arnold to have that many pins, I mean, you don't see a lot of pins out of the heavyweights.
Yeah.
You don't see pins out of the heavyweights.
And he does it fast. I mean, he's one of those guys. He comes in quick right when it starts. I mean, his hips, his back has been at like a 90-degree angle, and he comes right in with that head slap to the side.
I know as an offensive lineman, you probably hated going against those wrestlers.
Hated wrestlers,
on the
man.
D-line.
They knew leverage. They knew hand play. And it was that or it was the long arms. You know, if a guy can extend you, you're going to have some issues right there. So 2nd and 14 for Hoban. Middle territory here as they are looking for the end zone long. He's going to run. He's going to be brought down by Chase Bond. So good pursuit there as you got the coverage out back. Chase Bond, he's excited. He's doing the Campbell's Chunky Soup, but you're going to need a little bit extra. You're going to need the sirloin burger if you're going to go over there. Try to come back from 21 to 6. 3:18 on the clock.
Big third down.
I'll tell you what they do need to eat after the game, though. Go to Lindsay's Pizza at 2827 Whipple Avenue, Northwest in Canton, in the Hillsdale Shopping Center, right down the street from where we live. So I know at least 4 of us here. Mark, maybe you'll stop down and get yourself a calzone, but
Lindsay's
us Avondale
Pizza
people.
Lindsay will stay
Can he put
open late for us.
Can he put a wet bar in to stay open for us?
Yes, I think he can. Long. He's going to fire one to Crable. Crable catches it at the 25.
It's going to be 4th and manageable.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you haven't had their breakfast pizza before, it's phenomenal. And John Lindsay does a lot for the community, feeding the teams, helping out, taking care of the McKinley Bulldogs a lot. They're open till 11, so you can get pizza all night and tomorrow. You know, if you don't want to have to cook for the Ohio State-Michigan game, call them up, pizza, chicken. They're open early. Go to lindsayspizza.com. You can place your order there. You know, Lindsay's Pizza's done a lot for us, so we want to give a big shout-out to John Lindsay. Actually, Mark, you guys used to play a little softball against each other, didn't you?
Never played on the same team as John, but played against him.
Tell me about the competitor that guy was.
Oh, my gosh. And could he talk? Oh, dear God.
Talk and drink beer. Drink beer, and eat pizza.
Boy.
Dorian Pringle, he's not able to take down Long as he throws it. I believe it's intercepted by Jaden Welch. It is.
I'll tell you what.
That's a hell of an interception at the 6-yard line to be able to undercut.
Would like to see him drop that one, yeah.
Dropped it.
But, hey, you're not thinking that when you're just trying to.
They were trying to get that ball in there to Wesley Anderson.
Now, I'll say this since we're on YouTube and we're not really like on the radio. This is where you see sometimes that the officials have a rooting interest because that ball is clearly intercepted. And if you see that official come in from the sideline say, give him a break here. No, it's incomplete. Massillon first down.
Oh, they said they caught it.
I know, but I'm saying back at the spot.
Yeah.
You know, help the kid out there.
Are you saying we could be at CVCA, or is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, give Massillon
the king of
couple
YouTube.
Yards.
Jeff Tyler, the king of
YouTube.
YouTube.
That was the
first Fairless reference.
I didn't say Fairless. You did. I led the witness.
2 minutes. 2 minutes to halftime. We have our first Fairless reference, and it comes from Mark Milano. Will Trell gets about a yard pickup before he's in. And to your point, guys, with the physicality of this Hoban defense, I don't think Will Trell has been hit like this all year. And you're saying that they played Moeller, Eds, Fitch, McKinley. I don't think Will Trell's taken shots like this. I've seen some popping. I've seen some defensive guys from Hoban that have come up and popped him right in the hole.
You know, watching this right now, too, the way this Hoban defense is playing, finally being healthy the last 3 weeks, Dorian Pringle can't come off the field. He's got to be, and right here,
there goes Will Trell. Oh, if he gets past that.
Yeah, so Dorian Pringle's got to be his lead blocker the whole game.
If he got past the attempt there, that tackle was made by number 2.
Yeah, this is a big
number 3 that came down into the box there and hit him. I'll tell you what, if he gets past number 3, he's got green grass and opportunities. Ricky Williams, you're right, man. He's up to 221. He put up 35 pounds in the offseason.
Insane.
If they don't convert here, Hoban's going to go all after this punter.
He must have just told Coach, though. He's like, listen, dude, I don't care. I'm going to beef up and play linebacker, but I still want my wide receiver spot.
Get rid of it.
Home run shot for Slaughter. He's looking for number 20, incomplete.
Just a little long.
Good coverage.
I'll tell you what. That's tough. You know, it's like you said, it's a risk reward because okay, you don't want to stop the clock and give Hoban the ball back, but at the same time, you don't want to be that far. You don't want to be punting out of your end zone.
I'm going after this punter.
And Hoban just blocked. You talked
They
how
had
many?
three block punts, and they've been close probably 4 or 5 times.
They blocked
Jameer
one
Gamble
against
was that intended
Vincent St.
receiver.
Mary's in the same end zone 2 weeks ago. But how many timeouts? Hoban's only got 1 timeout left. So we'll see here. Yeah, this is probably a spot to go after it.
Wind's not really blowing down there either. What a great night for football.
Yeah.
Here's a
You know,
little bit.
last couple weeks freezing cold.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of a surprise on a score, guys. It's still St. Ed's 7-0 over number 10 ranked Lincoln. Late in the second quarter.
Yeah, Hannah.
Late in the second quarter.
And you know, we talked about this earlier in the season about St. Ed's. For
Slow
some
starters.
reason, well, that they don't make adjustments well.
Yeah,
It's
You-
kinda
and,
who-
and I thought it was really interesting how you said that. It's like you know what? It's their own cockiness and arrogance
It
that gets
is.
in their way.
It is.
Lombardo's a hell
You
of a
show-
coach.
you
Little
saw it
Tressel,
against
state of the
Massillon.
game plan.
We're going to play you straight up
Yeah.
because we just think we're bigger and better than you.
You saw it against Massillon. They refused. Jalen Slaughter was picking them apart in the second half, and they refused to change what they were doing because they just thought, oh, well, we're better than Massillon. We're going to stop them. That wasn't the case. You know, they do. Their own arrogance gets in their way sometimes, and that's not just them. That happens to other teams.
I got to give a shout out to a guy on that coaching staff there for Gahanna Lincoln, one of my old wide receiver teammates, Roy Hall from Lyndhurst Brush, the legend up there. He actually he caught the first touchdown pass for us when we played Michigan in the game of the century back in '06. He wasn't really a featured wide receiver. If you guys remember, he was really big, kind of looked like David Boston out there.
No,
looked
he was
like
big.
looked like Ricky Williams.
Number 8, right?
Yeah, he looked like Ricky Williams out here, 221.
Great
Wide
protection by
receiver.
Massillon.
Not a very good punt.
Nope.
It's going to get it out to the 40-yard line, so Sperling and company will start downhill, but we'll see as we look at
Plenty of time to punch one in here.
timeout situation, 1 for each team with 52 seconds remaining.
So what I know of Coach Tim Terrell tendency, 2-minute drill. It's one of 3 things that's going to happen. It's going to be a spread formation with a run, see if he can pop it on first down. It's going to be a screen on first down, or it's going to be an automatic hitch right now on the sideline. That's the way he's always done 2-minute drill. Now he's on the 40. That usually doesn't start that, but it's usually always been run on first down, screen on first down, or quick hitch right now.
Now tell me, he was a tight end for Coach Tressel at Youngstown
yeah.
State?
Yeah, 2 national championship
Well,
teams. And then
what was
he was
do
a
we know what his
quarterback in high
stat
school.
line was like? Was he? Did they
he
throw
was
to
a
him
big
lot?
blocker. He caught a touchdown, I believe, against Marshall in one of the championships.
Long. He's looking downfield. Now he's going to dump it off
Screen,
easy.
yeah.
23 gets it. He's at the
Ooh.
35. Gets smacked by
That's a speedster we talked about
Xavier
earlier.
Ryan Page.
But you know, yeah, he played quarterback at Ursuline. Could have played basketball. Went to Youngstown and played basketball and football. Beefed up and played tight end there for Jim Tressel. Coached with Jim Tressel, and he never wanted to be a high school coach. He just wanted to be.
There you go.
The quick
There's
hitch.
your sideline shot.
So he just wanted to be a college coach, and Coach Tressel said, "Oh, we'll go coach with Joe Nora, an old Youngstown State player, at Aquinas for a year. Get your feet wet." Joe Nora leaves.
Yep.
Tim Terrell said, "I don't want the head coaching job." They give it to him. He's there 5 years. Goes to Florida. Get really, 25 and 25 in 5 years at Aquinas. Goes to Florida. Says he was educated big time on high school football when he's in Florida. Comes back to Hoban and
Won a state
the rest
title
is
down there,
history.
too.
Yeah.
Parker Falkenstein caught that last pass to give the Hoban Knights a first down long. He's going to one-hop it, so that's going to bring up 2nd and 10 from the Massillon Tiger 30-yard line.
I think
20
that Long-
seconds left.
Long holds on to the ball too long.
He does. I talked to Coach Matt Saunders about that, and he said, he's so careful with the football. He doesn't want to make mistakes because he knows he's got playmakers. And there's some times that I'm just like, Jakai, you're an athlete. Take the 5 yards and get down. But this situation, it's a 2-minute drill. Probably better to get the incompletion. But, yeah, he does. He holds on to it long sometimes.
He's had guys open.
They've got Jadavian Crable down at tight end here in this.
Corner route was
See what Long does. Looked like one of his guys let it go early there. Cody Fair was providing the pressure, so the right guard wisely doesn't get the holding
Could
call.
that have potentially been grounding the way there was nobody over there?
Well, they're saying as long as you give an attempt downs towards a receiver. So when they say in the vicinity, My understanding of it is within like 8 yards.
Well, he was about 18 yards away, nearest guy.
So it's open interpretation, which is tough. So Hoban really, they need to get inside the 20 here to be in field goal range. You got one timeout left, 14 seconds and a half.
3rd and 10 from the Tiger 30. Twins left to the wide side. Twins right to short side. Sperling goes up the middle, gets away from Marcus Moore.
Timeout.
Until he gets help from Dorian Pringle. That's going to be inside the 25 at the 23.
You call timeout with
so
2
you call
seconds left.
timeout with 2 ticks.
Yep.
Wow.
1 second will go, and now you'll have a field goal attempt. So you're going to have a 40-yard field goal attempt.
I'd say this is probably a 1 in 3 chance for
and
Hoban's
and,
kicker.
and you're inside the hash
I
marks.
think you're
going to be off. You're going to be offset as they go left to right on your radio dial. You're going to see it be offset a little bit to the right, but
and
it's
that's
still
not
inside
good
the
'cause
hash.
he's a kid that pushes it.
Yeah,
He pushes it. So
and you said it's been a struggle
Well,
all
there's no
season
wind
long.
out there. That's the only saving grace.
Could you see a fake here?
he's not a big fake guy. What I think you could see is a snap down to maybe try to get them an extra 5 yards. You know, they come out, hands on hips. He goes, they all snap down to try to get an extra 5
I
yards.
jumped outside just when you did that.
Is it?
Thought I was coming at you, Mark.
I mean, did you see the fast twitch? I mean, the explosive
Still there.
muscle
It's all in the
movement.
hips.
It's
Not pony, it's thoroughbred. over there.
Now, blocked field goals you can advance
Oh,
at
yeah.
return, but
Yeah.
it's just extra points that are blown dead
Yep.
once you block that. So maybe they'll get a little bit. If you guys remember this, John L. Smith and the Michigan State Spartans, they came down to the Horseshoe, and Dante Whitner took a house
Well,
call
here's-
with Ashton
here's a
Bodie.
telling
This could be a
sign.
huge special teams play here at the Tigers.
The tight ends on both sides are ineligible numbers. So the only person they could throw it to is a wing. So that's my guess is there's 0% chance.
I'm pulling for a Tiger block here. We'll see if somebody comes off the edge.
Oh,
I'll tell you
Oh,
what, that's
boy.
the best kick he's had, and he's
That was
wide
wide
right. Pushed
Had,
it.
had the leg to get there.
Yeah.
It
Wide
looked
right.
like a smooth stroke, so it's going to end 21-6.
He's looking at the uprights like
This
they
first
moved
half
on him.
will close out. We'll continue to keep rocking along, man. Let's go ahead and let's dig into that Stark Media fantasy draft.
Hey, who was trolling us, though? You made mention of that.
Oh, somebody, one of our friends from up here in Akron, I put a little something up on Twitter for people to be able to see, and they said, don't poke the bear. Don't poke the Coach T bear. No, Jeff, when we started rocking through that thing, you know, and we thought it was great to see the response from it that,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to do this for every sport as we move forward. We get ready to jump into basketball and girls and boys basketball, some different things we're going to be doing here with wrestling. But first, before we dive into it, talk about basketball and how it's kind of rattled off here for you. We've had a chance, you and I got to rock with the natural, man, Walsh Women's Hoops. I mean, we were in there, and it was fun.
Well, I tell you what, it's a blast to be at the college level calling games, and especially with the Walsh team on the boys' side that is ranked 20th in the nation.
Yeah.
You know, they've dropped a couple games here and there, but they've had the injury bug. So their top 3 or 4 players has a boot on the sideline over there.
Yeah.
But the girls' team is real strong. I think they've got a rookie head coach that is a great coach, been with her program a long time, and but I think they're gonna once they catch their stride, they're gonna figure things out. So it's just been a blast to when I first came aboard, you and I talked about me doing basketball and maybe some baseball, so for this is just cream on the crop for me to be able to be in the booth during football. For
Okay,
sure.
so here's maybe how we can run this thing here. Since, Mark, you weren't able to actually get over there to be able to draft, as we analyze these 3 teams here, maybe you can kind of let us know how you think they stack up against each other. If Team Tyler were playing Team Sarachman, who may win that competition? And we still haven't found out, Jeff, if Kylie Durland, if there's a relation to Carson. I don't know if it's cousin or if that's her brother, but
Yeah.
I mean, Carson Durland, he was my second quarterback pick. And I'll tell you what, between Drew DeShields and Carson Durland, Mark, I mean, that's a pretty
Well, who got Poochie Snyder?
well, I
This
did.
guy.
third
Let's talk about
quarterback
that.
off the board.
So you're automatically that team wins.
Yes.
I was riding and dying all year long with Brendan Zerbrug.
Yeah. Who took Xavier Williams as their wide receiver?
So
Was that you, Drew?
Yeah, that was me. So
Okay.
Mark, I've got Poochie Snyder throwing to Ramir Hawkins, Xavier Williams, and Luke Yoder.
Winner.
Let's go. I mean,
You
come
might
on.
want to hear my front 7 and my running game before you talk
The
about
ball is in the air. Your front 7 don't
Here-
matter.
here-
The ball's gone.
Here's so if you want to hear my front 7, Mark, here we go.
Okay.
Marcus Moore,
Yeah.
Chase Bond, Brady Sullivan, Ethan Lucas for Glen Oak, Dorian Pringle, Evan Brady.
It's impressive. It's
Now-
all Poochie all the time, though.
But will he get the ball, though, because my running backs are Caden Davis and Nino Hill.
Hey, when you did this draft, did each time, so you went through and you drafted, did you draw straws again to see who went first?
We rotated.
Yeah, we just kind of rotated right
so
down
who went
the line. It was
first
a shovel.
goes last then?
Yep.
Okay.
But a difference than normal fantasy drafts. We didn't open it up to the entire every single player. We went by position. So that's a little bit different, right? TJ had the first pick on a quarterback. So, he took Drew to Shields, and then it goes to him and then to me.
Was there a clock on this so you guys didn't
And we
miss
didn't
a pick?
need one.
Well,
We
there
didn't
was
need one.
because the Hall of Fame was shutting the lights off on
Yeah,
us.
they did. They did. They said,
They
listen,
were
guys,
kicking us out.
Okay, guys, it's Thanksgiving week. People want to get home and see their family. And, that was by 5 o'clock. They did start shutting the lights off.
You just
and
want to
we
run down our
heard it.
lineups? I
Yeah.
got
Go
it
ahead.
loaded there on the
Yeah,
screen.
so here we go. Here I got you got Team Downing up there first here. And so my first pick, I got somebody else started offensive line first, and I was really surprised that Colton Arnold slipped to me. Drew went first, and you were Briar Rechtenwalt from Perry, and then Jeff, you rolled with Styles Dietz out of Lake, and then I came back with Colton Arnold. I mean, I think between all these offensive linemen that we really highlighted, I think we got probably the best of the best. I mean, the toughest thing for me, though, too, guys, is, Mark, we've been doing this together for about 8-9 years, selecting teams, and you always kind of feel bad afterwards. Like, there's a couple guys that you didn't recognize or that didn't get picked, and you're like, damn, he was a really good player.
Yeah.
Right.
And you mentioned it, Drew. You guys both did. You talked about Kyler Maraglia.
Yeah.
You guys talked about Matt Solberger.
Luke Roach.
Those are three really good running backs, and the year of the running back around the area. But you feel bad sometimes that there's guys that you didn't mention that you want to.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it is tough. And we were thinking about doing 4 teams originally, so, that left a ton of talent out there when we were only going with 3 teams deep. But what I loved about it is, we had a chance to recognize these offense and defensive linemen.
Yeah.
That don't get recognized.
Right.
I'm in the booth. I'm doing play-by-play. Drew's able to sit there and look at, what's happening interior-wise in the trenches, things like that. I'm calling out, the names that get called out all night long are the skill guys, right?
Yep.
End of the year, this. How many, you didn't get recognition until you're saying, an offer to go to the Ohio State University, right? It's just not the big guys don't get the love. So that's what I thought
They were
was
talking
awesome
about
it.
some of your teammates, Dustin Fox. Everyone wanted to talk about Dustin Fox when you were
Right.
in
Like,
high
what's
school,
up with the dude that opened the hole for Dustin Fox to get back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons? No, honestly, they didn't start talking about me in college until I shaved a mohawk into my head. It's like, I should have done that a long time ago.
They put you on the cover of Sports Illustrated for that, didn't they?
It did, man. I think I was on about every paper, every news outlet from here to the West Coast. But my offensive line would finish out with Sam Snodgrass, a guy here who, again, kind of just scratching my head here, not sure this rotation they've done. He came in for 1 series. That was the 2nd series of the game. But Marcus Moore has been at left tackle. Evan Sergo has been at right tackle. And Evan Sergo was the guy that you picked, Drew. You also picked out a guy like Riley Plotner, who we're going to talk about with Northwest Touchdown Club President Rick Wright, who's in the house here with us tonight. Riley's a dude, 6'7", 320 pounds, 330 pounds. I mean, a massive dude for Northwest. So when you think about Lamar Sperling hiding behind a Keon Johnson, Kyler Maraglia hiding behind a Riley Plotner, that was a big reason that they had a lot of success, and you had to do that with a young Chase Badger getting into the fold.
Yeah, and, we talked about that Northwest offensive line. There were multiple guys on there we could have taken, offense and defensive line. Heck, there were some defensive players in Northwest that I wish I could have taken. Caden Beekler, Noah Harper.
Yeah.
Some really good players in Northwest. That whole Northwest offensive line were seniors. They played well all year long. But, a lot of times, you don't see those really huge linemen. And there were some big uns in Stark County this year.
Yeah, speaking of Caden Beekler, his mom's down there. She's going to the Ohio State-Michigan game tomorrow night, man. They're down there partying, having fun, celebrating down on campus.
Your prediction of the score tomorrow?
You know what? It's going to be close.
See, I don't think it is.
I'm thinking I'm going 28. I'll go 28-24. A little bit further from your 28-27. But
wow,
you're rounding out the offensive line. second fairless call of the evening, I took Tom Fox. Frank McClellan, a dude from Malvern who was, for a 6'5", 285-pound dude down at Malvern, you're going to be able to do some things. And then, Drew, you would end up taking Jared Withrow, the quarterback down there who had
sophomore,
did some really good things.
The shades of the Tucci boys.
Brad Cormanack was another lineman that I took. I mean, we saw some good ones. How about Mitch Coffey and what he was able to do with West Branch? You grabbed him.
Yep. Yeah, I really like Mitch Coffey. He's with those really big guys. Sometimes in high school they struggle, especially at the small schools in pass protection, because they're going against 185-pound defensive ends who really are just using their speed. And Mitch Coffey did a great job all year. Evan Sergo, I've got him. The Massillon Tiger. Got Jack McAvenue, Lake Blue Streak. They ran the ball well all year long. And then the other guy who's going to account in my running game is the tight end, Ethan Lesko.
Yeah. Jeff, I liked your offensive line. I like some of your small school picks, too, along with a guy like Mike Millen, who maybe was overshadowed by a Briar Rectenwalt. Mike Millen comes from, a lot of great stock. You can count on about 10 hands how many Millens have been through the program over there at Perry. But how about Chaz Grodowski, man? What you saw out of him, a big dude at Tuslaw. We talk about big dudes at smaller schools. You're going to have some success, and that led to, touchdown Tommy setting some records there.
Yeah, I would, looking at that game, Tuslaw versus Fairless is a game I got to see. And the only time Tuslaw really started moving a rock is when they decided to start running right behind Chaz. He's a big kid, 6'4", 305. He's a junior. I think he's a pretty underrated kid. He started out here at Massillon, transferred over there, wanted a little bit of a smaller hometown feel, and he's doing real well over there. So, stud there, Jason Lewis, stud. You mentioned Mike.
Studs.
I mean, come on. Now, here is my dark horse pick that you guys may have overlooked. My tight end, Austin Morrison.
He's a good blocker, good baseball player, too.
He's a great baseball player. He's going to have a decision to make because he's D2, D1 prospect baseball. But I think by the end of next year, he's going to have some people knocking on his door. He was pancaking people in the Massillon game.
Yeah,
I saw him on film.
He ended up tagging us on his huddle reel that he put out there, and he's got great balance for a lot of blocking on the perimeter like that, having to release and get on some linebackers quickly. You know how hard that can be, Drew. And then they kind of give you that one little fake move, and maybe you get on the outside, maybe you get drawn into a holding call because you don't release. But to be able to square those guys up, Austin did a pretty good job of that.
Well, and he comes from good stock, too. His grandfather, John Franken, played for Notre Dame. So he had two uncles that also played D1 college football as well. So he comes from good pedigree. So I think that was the dark horse pick.
How about, you guys got to see a lot of Lake football throughout the season.
A lot.
Nathan Baker, we talk about getting trolled on social media. Somebody kind of jumped on there and they said, listen, that's a great pick taking Nathan Baker. I took him on offense. I believe you took him on defense. Yeah, this guy was talking about he might be one of the most underrated players in the state.
Well, here's the thing about a small town, and Lake's not necessarily a small town school like Fairless, things like that. But when you're at a school like that, these kids play both ways, right?
Yeah.
So, if you come to Massillon, a lot of times you're not really asked to go both ways. They're 22, 25, 30 deep, right? So, that matters. Fourth quarter, that matters. And I think he's a great player on both sides of the ball.
Okay, so here's the name. I looked at everybody's list. This kid was the leading tackler on that Lake team. Nobody took Charlie Christopher.
So we talked about that. There's so many linebackers and so many Lake players. It's like, you could forget about it. But, I think Jeff took Dane Jarvis. I took Joey Garrow.
Yeah.
You talk about Nate Baker. Joey Garrow on that Lake defense. There's so many guys. He was phenomenal all year long. Passing game, rushing the passer, breaking up passes, forcing fumbles. He almost single-handedly derailed that Hoover offensive attack when they played Hoover. He had a sack, forced a fumble. He had a tipped ball that became an interception. He had like 13 tackles in that game. Joey Garrow was phenomenal. Really, that whole Lake defense, we could have drafted them all.
We literally looked down the line and said we could have. We could have found a spot on the field for just about the entire
team. If they wouldn't have had injuries this year, my gosh, every year Lake has injuries, and that drop off between 1 and 2 is big. Now they were able to fill holes on that defensive side. And I think that what Viscount did defensively, he was masterful.
And I'll tell you this. I said it the other day. I think personnel-wise, this might be, obviously I'm a younger guy, 36 years old. I think I'm 36 now. Might be personnel-wise.
We'll
the
sing
best
happy
Lake
birthday to you,
defense,
and then you go happy. Yeah, 36.
Yeah. Might be the best Lake defense they've ever had. I mean,
Ooh.
personnel-wise, phenomenal players here.
There really was. I'm drawing a blank. There was a young man who played defensive end who had started with a B.
But, top to bottom. And here's the thing. Lake now is playing bigger schools than they've ever played, right? I mean, every year they're playing bigger and bigger schools because that district is growing.
Ethan Baluch,
yeah.
I mean, playing defensive end. I mean, there were some really good players across this group.
Think about this. Every single player or every single team in Stark County would take every single player that I'm about to list. Christopher, Dane Jarvis, Ty Miller, Nate Baker, Dylan Schneider, Evan Brady.
Yep.
Could they transfer to St. Thomas?
Yeah. When me and Mike Cook were there.
Evan Brady.
Joey Garrow. I mean, all those guys could play on any team in the county. I mean, not many schools can say that they've got a guy at every single position on defense that could play anywhere in the county.
And
Maybe Massillon's the only other one.
The other thing I thought was pretty cool about how we're able to kind of orchestrate this fantasy draft is it's really up to you as the picker. Like, you can put your guy wherever you want. Like, hey, maybe Garrow played some linebacker, but I want to put him into secondary. Or, you took Mazden as, maybe Mazden's not really he's a cross between maybe playing a rush linebacker spot compared to defensive end. But regardless, you're looking at guys, you're taking
I
them
should have
because
probably
they got
went
the backfield.
to Mark's point. I should have went Christopher there and had an actual traditional linebacker.
Here, when I did these games, I watched guys and I watched how they played. And I think a good point of what I was trying to do is something that Coach Tom McDaniels said when Sammy, B, and I and yourself talked to him. Your best player on your team is not the most talented. It's the guy that's playing the best at that time. And I think we picked a lot of guys that maybe they're not more talented than other guys, but they reached their potential and maybe exceeded that potential, and that's why we took some of those
I
guys.
think, and this would be a great homework assignment, and to all the guys that are on Stark Media, you can go back 15 years. You can pick any 4 players and any coach, and let you go ahead and start that team together.
Oof,
maybe that's something we should do
Mike Doss.
in the offseason.
First pick.
Is do a Stark Media Decades team.
Oh, yeah.
Let people nominate.
I need my guy
2000s,
Vince
2010s. Oh, Vince Galata, you're going to get stuff thrown at you between me and Mark.
Vinny G.
He was phenomenal.
I'm closest to him. I'm just going to kick him.
Hey, Mark, real quick here. I'm going to step aside and take a little break here and kind of pass this thing off to you. But, you have your high school football playbook. You have your high school jam session. Talk about that. Talk about some of your players of the week, your Stark Media players of the week that you had on the playbook, and then also what's coming up here with you and Tim Haverstock for basketball.
Well, first of all, Tim's suffering right now. He's had some surgery, so I'm hoping he's going to be able to make it back for basketball season. But the jam session is great. I mean, in the past we had teams coming in and coaches, but with COVID, we stopped doing that for a couple of reasons. One, I was worried about us exposing the coach and those players, and you didn't want to see anything like that happen. But what that allowed us to do was to really start breaking down more teams and talking about more kids when you're out there. So it's a little bit different that we have. But football season was just an absolute riot. And every week, I mean, you're going through it. It was usual suspects. You knew that Poochie Snyder was going to be on that list almost every week.
Yep.
Trying to think of
Chase Olstrom.
Oh, well, yeah, he was all-time leading rusher down at Carrollton.
Yeah.
What did he had, over 7,000 yards rushing or something like that?
I think, just shy of 7.
Yeah. So it was a fun show, and Drew, and thanks for you and coming and helping out and doing that show together.
Sometimes you got to go to the bullpen, but
I
tried to do my best.
Put 2 Aquinas guys together on the set. It was all good.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great. We watch all the time. My grandparents always watch your show.
Oh, thank you.
You do such a great job there on Spectrum, on WI and Massillon Cable.
WI,
right?
yeah, I'll tell you, one of the weirdest things that happened is I went Christmas shopping last year, and I'm just kind of walking down the aisle, and this guy's looking at me and like, it's this dude's problem, man. He goes, "Hey, aren't you Mark Milano, and aren't you on the high school football playbook?" When he says, "Are you Mark Milano?" first I said, "Why? Who's asking?"
That's the Italian in you.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to have your back to the door when you're in the restaurant. You have a remote start on your car.
Yeah.
That's funny.
No, that's great. Now, So you and Tim do the episode still every Tuesday?
Yeah.
In
yeah.
studio, right? You're bringing players in and coaches in both?
Yeah, we may have some coaches and players coming in this year. A lot of it just depends on what winds up happening because COVID has a tendency to start spiking during the winter months. So we want to try to make sure that we're protecting everybody.
Speaking of high school hoops, first game of the season, huge upset, right? Perry over Louisville.
Nicky Saban, former Perry basketball player, comes back home and
unbelievable.
That is an upset because that Louisville team's really good.
I mean, between Hayden Nigro and Will Aljancic, I mean, those two, that might be the best combo in the county, right?
Yeah. I mean, they made it, state semis last year?
Yeah.
Run?
I think McKinley's going to be loaded this year.
They lost in the regional final to
St.
V,
Yeah.
and that
well, no.
Yeah.
It's really tough
was
because Louisville's right on the
tough.
borderline that they're Division I. And if you put them in Division II last year, who knows, right? I mean,
there's some generational teams that came through and had to run into St. V.
yeah. Some of those early 90s Aquinas teams had to run into St. V.
There was a team from over in Girard. They were undefeated. I think they were averaging close to 90 points a game and lost badly to St. V. Yeah. Alliance have had some great teams. Coach Kayson was over there playing.
Yeah, I think Alliance should be pretty strong here again this year. Now, Coach
Kakura retired.
Coach Kakura retired.
They beat Waterloo, who's historically been pretty good. Last year.
Did you see Lauren when you said Waterloo?
Yeah. So last year, Alliance beats Waterloo, and Waterloo.
We're not going to let you out of this broadcast, Lauren.
Yeah, my wife's a Waterloo alum, but last year
Mrs.
Alliance
Sarachman joining us, trying to. She wants to keep joining us and not have to go over there and watch you coach 7 days out of the week.
Yeah. They beat Waterloo last year, and Waterloo ran off 20 straight.
Apparently,
So
she
Alliance
actually likes you and wants to hang out with you.
She's got a nice rock on her hand. I bought her.
Definitely outkicked her coverage there.
Yeah, I know.
All right, man. We got a few minutes until we get the second half started
And she's
back
shaking
up.
her head.
So we do know now, though, that Will Hartson is the all-time career rusher. He was able to surpass Jameer Thomas for that record. He did that on his second carry of the game. So Will Hartson in this game, he's got 14 carries for 43 yards in the score. The long run was that 20-yarder that he got in there to get the Tigers off the board. He's got 3.1 yard per carry average in this game. A little bit different than what Lamar Sperling's doing. He's got 14 carries as well, but he's done 107 yards and a score.
107 yards?
His yard per carry average right now is 7.6. So I know that there's got to be an emphasis from Coach John Mazer and the boys up front. Again, we'll see if we see Sam Snodgrass come back out. Not sure, but they got to get things rolling in the right direction here because Jalen Slaughter, he's 3 of 12 with 1 interception, 39 yards. Long pass was a 16-yarder. He hasn't been sacked, but he's been pressured quite a lot. The only two receivers to catch one, that's Ardell Banks, 1 for 12, 2 for 27 for Braylon Tolles. Now, for Long, he's 8 of 12 with 1 interception, but he's got 209 yards in his ball game. 2 touchdowns. Long bomb is 64 yards. That was the one that went to Crable. Javion. 4 catches, 136 yards, 1 score. Told myself I was not going to be able to let him get player of the game here, but he's putting those type of numbers together.
Right now, for me, if I'm naming a player of the game, it's Ja'Kai Long.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We come into this game thinking,
if they force him to have to pass, can he do it?
And
he's
came
doing
out
it.
and said, you know what, we're going to throw the ball on you early.
Yeah.
We're going to let the pass open
What
up
does
the
Tim
run.
tell this team at halftime?
Go for the throat.
Mm-hmm. If they score here and they go up 28-6.
I mean, that's the mentality you have to have. You got to come out and not think it's 0-0. Say, hey, we're putting 24 on you in the second half.
Right. And if they do go up 28-6, that changes everything. You have to go away from handing the ball off to Will Trell. You have to start throwing the football.
Yeah. And, really in this game, Massillon's got 6 points on the board, but we talked about it. Jalen Slaughter is going to have to be who he was against St. Ed's. Right now, 3 of 12 with an interception, 2 missed deep shots. They had guys open on deep shots. One of them not his fault. Probably Ardell paced down a little bit, but he's got to be better in the second half. And because Hoban's coming out playing 1 high safety.
Yeah.
You start connecting on some of those passes, they're going to have to go back to 2 high safety.
And like we said, it's going to have to be quick hitters. It's going to have to be outs, bubble, something quick to get it out of his hand.
And a quick hitter doesn't mean short either.
Yeah.
You can throw a 1-step fade,
Yeah.
out of the slot to Ardell. That's really tough for a safety to get over top of.
Yeah.
You're right.
You know?
Jeff, I know we're going to get over to you for a couple scores here that you got in front of you, but I do have to make a correction here real quick, and that's what I like about our guy Dave Goff, and I want to give a shout-out to him because I've made his life hard over the last 8-9 years, but he loves me. Just we've tried to give the best coverage that we possibly can to this Massillon Tigers team, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that. But he comes down and he corrects me when I'm wrong. Some places out there they'll give me a stat line and then they come back and it's wrong and they don't even correct me on it. So I appreciate when they do correct us because we always want to make sure things are right here at Stark Media Team. So Will Hartson, he is the single season rushing leader all time. He needs 107 yards in this ball game to surpass Jameer Thomas's record. So he's at 43, and that's kind of going to be our ticker here as we roll through this second half. He needs 64 yards from scrimmage here to be able to become the all-time leading rusher for a career and pass Jameer Thomas.
I'll tell you what, if he breaks the record in this game, the score is going to be a lot closer than it is right now.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Score updates. We've got St. Ed's 14, Lincoln nothing at half. Moeller 14-7 over Springfield at half.
Ooh.
Toledo Central Catholic
They're good.
31 over Kings. Canfield is running away with it a little bit, 28-7 halftime score.
Don't sleep on Toledo Central Catholic.
Man.
They are good.
South Range 21-0 over Liberty Central. And Valley View 21-14 over Ironton.
Wow, that's kind of a surprise there.
I hate to say this, but I have a bet with a very good friend of mine. If Ironton loses, I win.
There you
Dinner
go.
in the free world.
There you go. So you talk about Toledo Central Catholic. I've got a nice little story about that, and some of you guys have probably already heard this. But so in 2015 at Hoban, we thought going into the season that let's not mess this up as coaches. Like, we're going to be really good. We're going to make a run. We're going to, we've got an opportunity to win a state championship. So we schedule the reigning state champ, Toledo Central Catholic. We go down, we play them in the scrimmage first of the year. We're feeling ourselves. They absolutely beat the brakes off us, 7 touchdowns to nothing.
That was at your place, or did you go there?
It was at Toledo,
Okay.
scrimmage.
Okay.
So we go get the brakes beat off, 7 touchdowns to nothing. And that was all starters. Like, it was boom, 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 boom. James Hudson, who's playing for the Browns now, Mike Weber, who was Mr. Football in Ohio, they were studs. So 15 weeks later, we see them in the state championship game, and we're like, I mean, we're game planning, just trying to stay in the game, and we ended up beating them 31-20, I believe. And that just goes to show you how much a team can change from week
How
one.
good offensive coordinator that Hoban had.
Yeah, right. It was really easy when our offensive line to play the way it was. Great job by Hoban there. Fair catch.
Smart.
As we kick off the second half here, fair catch in the kickoff. But, yeah, I mean, handing off to Todd Sibley was an easy play call, especially when you got Nolan Rumler and R.J. Kelly and those types of guys in front of you. But
How has Nolan done here for Kent State this year, right? He's starting on their offensive line?
yeah, and I think he's playing. Obviously he was at Michigan, had some family issues, had to come home. But Nolan's a great kid. He was a freak. James Hudson, so a great example. James Hudson, who plays for the Browns now, is a senior in that state championship game. Nolan Rumler, as a freshman, was burying him.
Do you think he kind of lost his zest for the game?
I think it happens sometimes. Sperling gets a carry right out of half. No surprise there. But I think it can happen. Kids can get burned out.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, this, TJ. Playing offensive line in college is a grind.
It is. And I'll tell you, a lot of it had to do with the loss to Florida and the manner in which we lost in that national championship game. But after that game, I kind of lost my desire to really want to play football and play offensive line anymore, And even though I think if I would have gotten drafted into the NFL as compared to going the free agent route and being signed undrafted the following day.
ISO.
And there goes Lamar again. He punches it out to the 45-yard line.
That's the first time I ever heard you say that.
First and 10 chain mover. Yeah, I had lost my desire, I think if we win the national championship and I get drafted, maybe it's a whole different story. But I think the way it kind of went, it just was kind of a bad taste and a kind of an ugly cap of a 5-year run at Ohio State that really just kind of took my desire away. And you talked about it, man. I mean, the grind, the punishment you put your body through, the workouts that you have to go through to stay, on top of your game. got to a point where, I was like, man, do I really want to do this anymore?
Mm-hmm.
If there was $1 million being hung over my head, yeah, I want to do it. But for 180 G's.
So Hoban runs ISO there, 2 plays in a row at 2 different looks. 2 weeks ago against St. Vincent St. Mary, Hoban had 59 plays. They ran ISO 43 times.
Wow.
One of these balls is going to go over Long's head on these snaps. That was another
again,
bad snap.
Good
again.
thing he's 6'3", right?
I was going to say, how tall is he? He looks big.
He looks taller than what they
I think he's
him.
bigger than 6'3".
Yeah. What do they list him here on the roster here? Provided by St. Thomas Aquinas alumni.
Didn't you say Sperling's 5'10"?
5'9", I think.
The interesting statistic on Lamar Sperling,
down there.
he was averaging close to 7 yards a carry.
They list him at 6'2". Ja'Kai Long, I think he's probably 6'3". Maybe he's grown. He's a little bit further north now, a little bit from West Virginia, close to the North Pole. Maybe that magnetic pole is making him grow a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what. You pulled a rabbit out of your hat on that one. Magnetic North is making him taller.
It's all about the magnetic pole.
I'll tell you what, he's playing like a giant in this game right now.
Yeah, he is. It's,
Hoban haven't put the ball in the air the second half yet.
They're thrown right here.
It's always interesting to see how young kids respond when they do have to. And
center forgot to snap the ball there.
I thought they were doing the old Fumble-Rooski play.
When Ja'Kai Long is at his best is when that ball comes out and boom, he's making a decision right now.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Coach Matt Saunders, another Aquinas alum down there,
Black and
offensive
gold.
coordinator for
Hey,
Hoban.
why aren't we counting these St. Thomas Aquinas references?
Because we didn't talk about that beforehand.
I
And I had nothing to say about St. Thomas
Yeah,
all season
there wasn't
long.
much to say this year. There was enough to say about
We're just trying
Fairless.
to elevate the broadcast. But, yeah, Matt Saunders has given him some wide-open receivers with play calls.
So what would you guys peg this attendance at here tonight?
I'm gonna
7.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's probably
Hoban burning a timeout 9 minutes to go in the third
I'd say
quarter.
there's probably I'm going to say 7,200. I'm going to say there's 5,000 Massillon fans and 2,200 Hoban fans.
All right,
Does that sound about
21. Yeah, I think you're right.
Won't they have an attendance for us?
Sometimes, but it's going to be a sold ticket attendance probably.
And there was somebody that was floating around this deal about
we heard pregame. That was
30,000.
So, well,
this place only holds 23.
Here's a question. Are they counting the online purchases into that?
Like viewers, viewership, they could, but I doubt it.
Because there's no way there's 30,000 people.
There were more people here in 2019 when Massillon beat Hoban than there are now. So,
do we have an update on what St. Ed's is doing?
It's 14-0 just after the start of the third quarter.
Looks like Canfield is all over Holy Name.
that Canfield defense is phenomenal.
To beat
Chardon, they
the Hilltoppers.
physically beat Chardon.
And that doesn't happen very often. Defending
Chardon
state
couldn't run the
champs.
football. Chardon couldn't run the football on him. So Hoban, Massillon dominated time possession in the first half. Hoban is kind of doing that so far.
Lamar
is their
Sperling
opening drive
just
of the
spinning
second
out
half.
of tackles.
A little Chuck Foreman-esque with that spin move.
He's got great balance.
He does. Both running backs do.
Maybe I was wrong there. It seemed like Massillon had the ball the whole first quarter. But
You take a timeout to run a delay? Come on now. Let's go.
The natural.
Yeah.
Coming
the
after
Natural's
him.
up here criticizing a guy that's got 5 state championship rings on his time management.
I love it.
Come on, Jeff.
It's not the first time we've heard that this year. Come on, Jeff.
Come on, man.
Here's a guy.
Hey,
we
like we
did say that a couple times.
What?
Shout out to John Madden.
Yeah.
Here's a guy.
There's a hole. Look at him
Nice spin.
move.
Oh, my gosh, he won't go down.
You can't get a clean shot on this kid. You can't do it. He reminds me of 2 guys, Priest Holmes and Darren Sproles. Just you can't get a clean shot on them. They just find a way to get that extra 2 yards every time.
Marcus Allen was like that.
Yeah, I don't. I was born in '86, so.
It's okay.
Oh, wow.
I'll bring you along.
Yeah.
I'll bring you
Raiders.
along.
You're Raiders. Yeah.
Huge Raiders fan.
Yeah.
Jeff, any update on what's going on between Springfield and Moeller?
Yeah, 14-7 at half. Moeller.
It's 3rd and short. Big down here for Massillon.
Marcus Moore trying to take
And
down.
Ball came
Balls
out.
on the
That's
carpet.
going to be Tiger football.
I'll tell you what, the extra
Look at Cody
effort.
Fair. Team Downing, Stark Media Fantasy Team. Cody Fair, I just got some
I'll tell
points,
you
man.
what.
I'm going to be eating good tonight.
I think he came in and punched that ball out. Lamar Sperling trying to get the extra yard. He already had the first down. Marcus Moore was on his ankles, and Cody Fair
How
comes
about
in and
Hoban
punches it
chewing
out.
up half of this clock, though?
That's huge.
Even though you do fumble the ball, you're up 21-6, and you just killed half the third quarter.
Yeah, but I'd like that. If they would have put a touchdown here and there.
I
that
heard,
would've been
yeah,
trouble.
yeah.
So huge for Massillon here. Let's see if they can get the ball running. Hoban comes back out with this 6-man front that they did when Massillon was showing 2 wide receiver sets, and they're going to go up top.
Looking for Braylon Toll.
Great
Oh,
coverage.
little contact.
Great coverage. So, there was contact there, but that's what we call squeezing the fade.
Well,
Squeeze it out of bounds with your butt. I
love-
think he goes to the other side. That might be a
I'm
touchdown.
going Ardell Banks. I mean, if I got the choice, if I'm Jalen Slaughter, I don't know how that comes down from Catfish Kale or
Well,
or
he's
Coach
on the hash.
Strox.
That's a longer throw from this hash to that sideline.
Plus he's
The ball's in
left-handed.
the air a long
But
time, yeah.
as you mentioned though, working Ardell Banks and just kind of taking that quick release and letting him get underneath
Now
it.
Ardell Banks has got to come out of the game.
Jameer Gamble.
And you
He's
know
got
what?
blood.
I don't know if it's blood or his
Actually,
pads. Because last
the
year we
knee
had the same
pads.
problem. Yeah, he was bringing him up
Matayan
too high.
Frazier checks in for him at receiver. Jalen Slaughter fires a quick
Dangerous.
one over to Braylon
No
Toll.
big
There he
catch.
goes. He's going to pick up a first down.
Tolles is a sophomore, right?
Wow, they're going to push him out of bounds a little bit early, so that's going to be a
3rd and 3.
third and three coming up. Looked like he was able to make that turn there, though, Mark. I thought he was going to get the
Yeah.
extra.
Now
Must have had a footstep out.
We'll see what kind of offensive line that Massillon's going to come out with if they're being more aggressive, getting things together on this 3rd and 3. Because during the season, 3rd and 3 was a cakewalk for them.
Yeah, still no Sam Snodgrass. Brady Jones is going to play the center spot. Wiltrell
nice
Hartson
cut.
gets a big
Yep,
carry,
and they
picks up
pick
the
it up.
first down.
Nice cut,
Offensive
Matt.
line covers everybody up. Wiltrell puts a foot in the ground and finds a hole. Great job on 3rd down there for Massillon.
This is a big deal here, man. I'll tell you what, you'd really like to see some points come out of this
Huge
drive.
swing. If they can go down and get a touchdown here.
Need to get
after
that
turning
momentum
that
back
ball
on your
over.
side.
I'd like to see how many times Lamar Sperling fumbled this year.
Not many is
Yeah.
my guess.
Yeah.
Wiltrell Hartson takes it to number 33, the guy Lee that you were talking about,
Pro-
the sophomore linebacker.
I'll tell you what, that's a good push out of the left side of the line there.
Marcus Moore's in there at the left tackle spot. Inside of him, Mike Looney Tunes.
I'll tell you what, they go down and get a score here. They're about to be down. It looked like it the way Hoban was driving. About to be down 3 scores. You go back and the other way, make it a 1-score game. I mean, that's huge.
They cannot take a sack here.
No, they got Ardell down here at the bottom, one-on-one.
There goes Tolles. He gets another big quick one out of the hands of Jalen Slaughter. Cruises down the sideline.
A lot of teams throw that bubble against Hoban, and they use that strong safety to kind of jack number 2 and get outside of him. But what they're doing is they're throwing to the farthest out receiver on our right now, and he's out leveraged right there. Same thing again.
Wiltrell Hartson's met at the line of
Yeah.
scrimmage by number 9.
Well, that's the
that was
same
big.
Jordan
Pritchard.
route they ran there again. And what that does is that guy's out leveraged now because you're blocking down on him.
So Wiltrell Hartson will continue to update his numbers, man. It'd be nice if you give it to him a couple more times here, and we could potentially see him before the end of this quarter.
I'll tell you what, Massillon is tempo in here.
Mm-hmm.
They're not letting Hoban call those blitzes that they were running in the second half. When you tempo a defense, you tend to simplify them.
Nice
Slaughter
pass.
going across the middle. He gets Tolles. Finding something there with Tolles.
I'll tell you what, not
The
many
young
missed tackles
pup.
out of this Hoban secondary.
Braylon Tolles, another guy who could have potentially been picked. That
We got-
start media fantasy draft.
We got 2 more years to pick him up.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he
tell
stopped
you
down. We've probably had every one of these Massillon Tigers come through the studio here at for the Tiger Talk show that we film over there. And Braylon Tolles is pretty cool. You could tell there's a young confidence about him.
Little swag.
Yeah, there is, man. Full tilt.
Four down territory.
4th and 2.
Tigers inside of Hoban's 35-yard line. They're going to be at the 34. Line to gain's going to be at the 32.
Now, if I'm Massillon here, I got 4th and 2. I'm putting big
Pringle.
right
Got
there
to.
at wing and run him right off his ass.
There he is. He's going to go left hip with Slaughter. Will Charl-Hartson's going to be on the right hip.
Go hard count, maybe get him to jump off sides.
Ooh, Mark had the right idea.
They might be going outside here with Hoban putting so many guys on the line of
Giving
scrimmage.
him that old Brett Favre, John Elway up there. Nothing bites. 4:34 on the clock. It's rolling 21-6
Got him
lead,
that time.
and they do. They get Javion Crable
Mark
coming off
Milano
the edge.
called it.
Yeah, off sides.
Looney Tunes is going to be pointing over there. Crable's pointing
I'll
at
tell you
them.
what,
But
75 for Massillon. Had a little flinch there too, but I think it was after Hoban crossed the line. But that's huge.
not quite as same time of the game when his dad jumped on. We won't go there. Ohio State Buckeyes. But 2 of those now for Javion Crable. You know, you got the big touchdown, but you got to be able to hold your water. That's an easy one there for the Tigers. Get the first down inside the 30. There goes Jalen Slaughter across the middle. He's got Kyler Wiggins inside the 10. Another first down.
Little Massillon swag
huge
starting.
Swing of momentum. That turnover is huge in this game.
Now down here, the field compresses, though.
And I love that Massillon's picked up the tempo. You see Hoban simplifying things.
Yep, you got to change that.
You know, they're not able to do those blitzes.
Pringle gets it.
What a
there he
move.
goes into the end zone.
No penalties.
Big answer
Dorian
for Massillon.
Pringle
You go for
makes it
2?
21-12.
No?
I'd wait to go for 2. I'm always a guy, don't go for 2 till you need it, because here's my philosophy on this. If you kick it and get 13, there's so much time in the game. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, Hoban may not score another point. You may end up going up a field goal, have a chance.
They're going for 2.
I like waiting till you need it, because I've seen games where they go for it, don't get it, then later in the game they try to get to a 3-point lead and you lose by a point.
I think that you lose momentum when you don't get the 2-point conversion, though, too.
Yeah. Well, plus Massillon struggled with extra points this year. I would imagine they're probably throwing a fade to Banks.
Got it.
Wide open. Huge for Massillon. Momentum swing.
Coach Moore is going nuts.
It's a 14-point swing. 3-score game to a 1-score game it was about to be.
Huge. We got a ball game now.
Yep.
You know, that's the energy you need on that sideline. You know, we heard some people down there earlier, man, in that first half. They were saying they were, you know, the face, you could tell, the body language, you know, kids were down, not really going in the right direction. And, well, you see them now. Side's electric. You got your fans behind you. It's a big deal with 3:57 remaining here to have this thing at 21-14. You're right, we do got a ball game on our hands. This is going to be fun.
And you watch how much Massillon's flying around on defense now. They got a shot of energy on that turnover. The offense goes down and punches it in. If I'm Hoban, I'm going to try to push the ball down the field again and try to, because they're going to be hauling off on Sperling. They're going to be running around. See if Massillon tries to go onside or maybe pooch it in the middle.
Yeah, I think they'll pooch it again.
I'll tell you what, these are the moments in these games that on special teams, your kids start to pucker a little bit.
Maybe not kick it up in the air so much as last time because they caught a fair catch.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, Drew, they want that up back there to carry it.
Yep. Massillon did have a successful onside attempt, and that's a good spot to kick it. Great tackle on the sideline there. 16.
Nice return.
Massillon guys are going crazy.
Yeah.
They're back in
Charlie,
it now.
Oh, no, that's wrong. Yeah, Charlie. Oh, no, wrong roster. Wasn't Charlie.
Which roster you
Sorry,
need,
Charlie.
Coach?
Ryan Page, a junior. It was a phenomenal special teams tack.
So we had Ryan Page in the week before, but then we had Dorian Pringle in this past week. And Dorian, you can tell, Dorian is a locked-in, focused dude, like very serious. Still got the baby face, but you can feel like you're talking to a grown man. And I said, well, tell me about Ryan Page. He's like, you know what? He goes, he doesn't say much. He goes, but he'll make plays out there. Ryan Page, still a young guy, too. He's got some years left.
They've gone after him in this game.
They have.
Scored 2 touchdowns right up his seam.
And if I was an offensive coordinator, I'd do the same thing, Drew.
Yep.
False start.
And is that what you're doing in your preparation for your games? You think, okay, this is it's like the water boy. Where look for the guy with the big eyes, and that's the guy we're going to go after.
Sometimes.
That's my boy.
yeah, there we go. We're going after him.
My thing was always, I'm going to make you, when I was at Hoban, obviously we were superior up front to a lot of people. So I said, I'm going to make you play big boy football. Put guys in the run game who aren't used to doing it, and see if they're about that running game life. See if they're about that in-the-box life. You know what I mean?
Good coverage.
See,
And
with
that Massillon defense is flying around.
Our guy, J.P. Simon's having the time of his life out there. Look at that.
He's swinging the hammer.
hey now.
He knows it. Well, he already ordered the orange Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Because you win, you get to wrap it around there. But no, it's always funny to watch him. He's doing his like club dance over there. He's doing like the robot. He's doing the YMCA. He's doing the Dougie. He's doing
brings the
this.
energy.
I
he's
thought he
doing
was
that.
a band
He's doing
instructor.
like a full break dance. He probably could. He's going to take over for Bronzak.
This is huge for Massillon. You put Hoban in third and long situations, and it's going to be a difficult second half.
TJ, that's the next level of preparation to know the band director's name.
Oh,
Next level.
Thank
Lamar
you.
Sperling.
At
man.
least somebody picked up on it. Thanks.
I got
Thanks.
it.
You're the natural. That's why,
Lamar Sperling goes for 9 yards on 2nd and 11. I mean, that's
Huge.
oh
This is average.
yeah.
9 yards a carry.
When you hear about guys like that, it often reminds me of Keyshawn Sims. It was almost like you didn't believe it when you saw the stat line, and you're like, I got to watch this guy. And then you watch, and you're like, oh, my gosh, it's real. Like this guy's really, really talented.
It's a blitz situation for Massillon here, and they do. Hoban runs it right at him.
Lamar runs right into it, man. They brought
He hits
Maverick
that hole
Clark off
hard.
the
Yep.
edge. Well picked up, though. Receivers are blocking.
And I'll tell you what, those two big dudes for Hoban that are tipping 350 up there, they're moving.
I can't believe how big kids are now. High school kids.
When Aquinas was winning state championships in the 80s, biggest offensive lineman, what, 270, 260?
The Sunlands. Yeah, one of them. And I'll tell you what, 270 would have been a gift.
Yeah.
I think it was probably closer to 250.
And they went on to play Division I football, right?
Yeah, there were 3 Sunlands. One went to Notre Dame, 2 went to Michigan off that state championship team.
Guys, here's a score update. Moeller is in a battle. 14 all middle of the third quarter. Moeller against Springfield.
Springfield returns a lot from that team last year. Everyone, they lost their quarterback. It was Mr. Everything, but the quarterback they got now is got them right back knocking on the door of the state championship. So Ja'Kai Long's out of the game. He's got his helmet off on the sideline.
Well, I saw the officials over there both talking to him. I don't know if he took a shot on that
Lamar
last play.
Sperling.
Nobody's going to catch
Not
him.
going to catch him.
No.
That's a huge play. Your
that's-
quarterback's out of the game.
That's great teams answer the bell.
Absolutely. That's unbelievable.
You know what's coming.
Shoo.
And you
27.
can't stop it.
Now, hey, there we talked. I talked about it earlier, and I don't hate to be a broken record. So Hoban puts the extra offensive lineman to the left there. They put the fullback outside. So they've created 2 extra gaps that Massillon defensive backs have to come in and play in the run game, and look what happens. He takes it for a touchdown.
Hey, is it all right for me to post this on Instagram right now that Massillon just shifted the momentum? Because I think it just shifted backwards.
I think you might want to hold tight there.
Hang tight, Chief.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Ja'Kai Long on the sidelines. You said that he had his helmet off?
Yeah.
There he is right in front of the
Two
bench.
officials were looking at him. They had a conversation, and then he went out of the game.
There's no
It makes it
trainers that are around him.
28-14
Hey, I'll tell you
Hoban.
what, Hoban backup quarterback, 1 play, 1 touchdown. Look out, Mr. Long.
No, that's
He's
not
going to
Ja'Kai.
Baker Mayfield. You see that handoff?
Yeah, it's tough for the Massillon Tigers there to be able to have that happen. You think
It's a backbreaker.
You can get a stop here, get the ball back,
I mean, this stadium, you could hear a pin drop
Yep.
right now after that,
and that's not just because we can't get a crowd mic through this inch and a half glass.
I'm impressed. I know Buckeye caulking, and we'll have to get them on the Mr. Donnelly there.
Touchdown,
Buckeye
Tony
caulking.
Donnelly.
Yeah, they did all the caulking here, and it's holding up pretty well at Infocision. That's some thick stuff.
He held a record for the longest field goal in a state championship game for decades.
Really?
Yeah, as a freshman.
Yeah. So, hats off to Buckeye Caulking. That's impressive right there. That's a big gap.
And if I'm correct, was it a Central Catholic Crusader who broke that? Was that Dan Mills when they won the state champ? Not to bring up Central
think my
Catholic, to you guys
headset's
St.
going
Thomas
again here.
guys again.
Possible.
I think he had like a 51-yarder in when they beat
I'll tell you
Coldwater.
what, these officials got to throw us. Hoban's been offsides 3 times on kickoffs, and they don't call it. You get some crews that never call that, and you get some crews that watch it. But every single time, Hoban's offsides on the kickoff.
Well, realistically, every kickoff should be offsides because when that plant foot comes down, it's beyond the ball.
That's true. That's true.
Morton Anderson taught me that.
Here's another update. Well, it's 21-21 still Ironton.
So Ironton
In
came
Valley
back
View.
and scored, yeah.
Come on, Valley View.
South Range. Coach Dan Yeagley down there has done a phenomenal job. They're up 28-0 on Liberty Center.
Will Terrell gets a carry. Man, 4 or 5 guys right there. Loses a yard back to the 19-yard line.
And I'll tell you what, this two scores here. Massillon can't have too many more punts in this game. Massillon has to punt the ball twice in this game. They're not going to win it. So that Massillon may have 3 drives left in this game. They're going to have to score on 2 of them at least. So
Somebody's gonna call timeout.
this is very important. You say, yeah, there's a lot of time left in this game, but the way Hoban's been running the ball and holding the clock, Massillon probably only has 3 possessions left in this game.
Kings Knights are coming back, guys. They just scored a touchdown on a 28-yard pass. It's 28-31. Toledo Central Catholic still got the lead there by 3.
Yep. Massillon doing a check with me on the sideline, trying to tip off these Hoban blitzes, see if Hoban changed the call there.
They're coming. Nope.
Looked like they were going to bring
Now we
the
got a
heat up the
delay.
middle. Who was that number 3 that was walking up in the middle there? Ricky Williams.
And I believe this is Massillon's first penalty of the game. I don't think they have.
That's a shocking statistic.
Mark, we went through a couple ball games there where it was an easy 8 to 10 penalties a game that you could count
Over
on for
100 yards
Massillon.
and penalties, yeah. Geez, when they played Green last year, I think there were 15 or 16 penalties for 150 yards.
No, ton of pressure.
Slaughter rolls out. And
Ooh.
he's able to snag it.
I'll
That's
tell you
Braylon
what,
Tolles again. He comes
throws
down.
good on a run.
That's a phenomenal throw because he got it right over Crable there in the flats. And that could have been a pick, but he fired it right over him. That's a great play. So 3rd and manageable now.
And he stayed in bounds, so that clock keeps running.
I'll tell you what, we are almost through 3 quarters, and Ardell Banks has not touched the football.
Just
They tried.
that one attempt, right?
Yeah.
The-
Yeah, on
and,
the
and,
fade.
and it should have been a touchdown if he keeps going.
Yep.
The ball's got to get in his hands one way or the
You got
other.
to put the ball in your playmaker's hands. Find a way.
What a big 3rd down this is.
Tons of pressure.
Yeah, good job.
Receiver Banks fell. So Ardell Banks trips and falls at the right around the sticks, 2 yards short of the sticks, or 19. That was 19 fell. I'm sorry, fell right at the sticks, and he would have been wide open. So he had to force it to Banks on the sideline. It's incomplete.
You look at the upside to Ardell Banks. He's got great size, great speed, great hands. He's a basketball guy.
And here's the other thing I like about him. A lot like one of his predecessors, Morgan, the receiver there. He is active when he's not getting the ball. He is going and he's blocking in the run game. He's running routes hard when he
Complete
doesn't get it.
player.
He affects the game when the ball's not in his hands. High snap.
Ooh.
Nice punt, though. Fair caught.
Been some
49-yard
some
line.
questionable catches. by
Hoban's
Hoban.
49.
Guys
3
flying all
seconds
around
left
him.
in the 3rd quarter.
So
28-14 lead for Hoban.
if I'm Hoban right here,
Gas pedal.
It
Is this
is.
gas pedal time?
it is Lamar Sperling, and we're going to try to set you up with a deep pass. But you're telling the offensive line right now, listen, you want to win this game, you do it right here on this drive because you punch it in here. Massillon's got to make up 3 touchdowns in 1 quarter.
Ja'Kai Long's back out there.
I think it was maybe a helmet issue.
Boy, these times when these guys get out here and they play and they start rolling those pads up above their kneecaps, I would try to have as many pads on as I could.
Yeah, especially when you got guys out there like they got on Hoban defense and Dorian Pringle. I wouldn't want Dorian Pringle hitting my bare kneecap, would you?
No,
Yeah,
I don't like the call.
Nope, they're throwing that RPO. Now, I see Coach Tim Terrell. I've been in this position before when Tim Terrell starts walking down the sideline looking at you, he's saying one thing: run the damn ball. That's what he's telling Matt Saunders right there. He's walking down the sideline, and he starts doing this with his hand. He's doing the up and down with his hand. Run the damn ball. But it was open, Tim. Shut up. Run the damn ball. So I've been there.
All right, we get ready to start the fourth quarter, man. This is crunch time here for the Massillon Tigers. They better figure some stuff out.
Yeah, hey, huge stop on first down.
Canfield is holding on. They're 31-14 start of the fourth quarter.
All right, real quick, we mentioned that we were going to talk about our friends at the Marines, the Leatherneck Nation MC, Veterans Helping Veterans, the Sam Center in Massillon, and Save 22 veterans. You know, the battle for veterans continues even after they've returned home for war, fighting PTSD, health battles, suicidal thoughts, and more. Every day, 22 veterans commit suicide, losing their battle against their demons. And Tom Endorf, founder of Save 22, Tim Arnold, Padre, and all with the Leatherneck Nation MC, and our friends Dave and Brian Bowman, along with Lucia at the Sam Center, are standing up for their fellow soldiers. Save 22 Veterans, founded in Carrollton, serves as a resource for veterans, first responders, and those in need alike, focusing on veteran suicide prevention and awareness locally and beyond. Save 22, a veteran-run organization, offers a number of veteran therapy programs, from professional racing, fishing with Mark Milano, camping and outdoor adventures, or a shoulder to lean on and an ear to listen. For more information, visit their website at save22.vet. As Lamar Sperling runs down to the Tiger 45-yard line, or follow Save 22 on social media by searching Save 22 Veterans.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yep, that's it. So yeah, with that time starting to tick away here, 28-14, it's
Thank you so much.
it's not going to be in your favor. So what do we got here on the stat line for Mr. Wiltrell Hartson?
Oh my goodness, Hoban has 433 yards of offense in 3 quarters against.
And unfortunately, unless
That's the most Massillon has given up this year.
Wiltrell Hartson can come out on the next
whole playoffs,
possession,
maybe.
I mean, he's still 57 yards shy of breaking the career
He's gonna
mark.
need a long one.
Holding.
Flag comes in.
Big hit.
Holding. I'd decline it. Make it 4th down right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, it's. So where was he tackled short of the line?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, 4th and 7. I mean, I'd probably decline it and say, hey, defense, get it. No, they're taking him back. Here's the thing, because you need the time and you need the yards. So, okay, they are going to decline it now.
Yeah, smart.
What did we say before today? They got to keep Sperling below, hopefully, 200 yards.
Well, I think the key there is look at Hoban's passing stats. We said, hey, if this quarterback, they're 9 of 14 throwing the ball.
433 yards
They've
of
got
offense.
Hoban for an interception, which
Off
is
of
not
40
correct,
plays.
but-
They've held it for 18 minutes, 40
Oh,
seconds.
no, they did
Yeah, they
throw that
do.
one.
Each team has one.
Massillon's 3 of 11 on third downs, 1 for 6
Watch the fake.
is Hoban.
I was just thinking the same thing, Mark.
But Tim does not like to do that.
they've got an up to middle fake and a kind of an off tackle fake. Good punt.
Oh, wow.
Get out of the end zone, young man. Don't
Jeff,
touch
that
the
checked
ball.
up like your lob wedge.
Yeah, little backspin on
So-
that, baby.
So wait. Coach T doesn't like to do the fake punts, but I'll tell you
The
what I
QB
remember.
sneak
I
was a
remember
big
the one
one
time.
there.
I'm not sure who ran it, but when you guys played Massillon, that was in the state championship with Tom Benson, and Morgan was back there waiting for the punt return. It felt like the momentum was going back to the Tigers.
I knew he was
and
running
Coach
it.
T pulled it off, man. It's like, wow, that's the dagger right there.
So we talked about that. I talked about it with the Black Swarm podcast guys. So I'm coaching at Glen Oak at that time, and I'm sitting with Rennie Wilson in the stands, and Massillon calls timeout. And I look at the clock, and I think there's, about 5 minutes left in that game. Massillon's down 6. And I said, Hoban's going to fake this. It was on their own 38, and he said, no way. I said, all right, well, if you hear this specific word, it's going to be a fake. Sure enough, they come out of timeout, and they said the key word, and I won't say it here to tip them off. And they ran that fake, and that was the ball game.
That was a big play.
On their own 38. I mean, that's ballsy.
We're not allowed to know what the secret password was?
Nope, I will not say it.
Black and gold.
The password is.
You know, you think about this may be one of the last times these two teams play each other in the playoffs. And we were talking about the fact that OHSAA is going to make a change. Now, I don't know if they're going to do away with
Oh, boy.
It's an interception.
Oh, unbelievable.
You
Are they going to
cannot
do
do
away with
that.
Division 7?
Double coverage, Ardell Banks. Can't do that.
Yeah.
Well,
So everybody's
here's the
going to
thing.
bump up.
Yeah, everything's so Massillon could be Division 1. Here's the thing on the last play. So Slaughter throws an interception. With your inability to run the football, that safety's playing at 16 yards. He's getting over top of every deep route.
Right.
So you don't force them to come up in the running game. You're not going to hit those deep shots. Huge turnover, and I think Hoban probably just runs the ball every play here. Unless, who knows? They could try to take a play action on first down, but if they don't do that, I see them just running the ball, try to run this clock. But
and that was one of the comments that I made about those fade routes that he's running to the sideline. The ball hangs in the air so long.
Yep.
When you have help over the top, you've got that safety coming over. You get that interception.
That's Tyson Campbell, the free safety. Has got a lot of Division I offers here.
Hey, you never know what could happen here. You see what the Tiger defense is able to do, but Lamar Sperling,
And
they're
going to
take it to him, and they're going to go gas pedal. That's not even close. That's
a
smart
good
move,
decision.
though. Very smart.
Out.
You see Jaden Welch and you see Page all over your receiver. Go ahead, just throw it out of bounds. Live to fight another down, right?
Yep. Hey, good discipline by the Massillon defense there.
Now, I would have liked to have seen the quarterback maybe just tuck the ball and run into the line of scrimmage just to keep the clock running.
So just so everybody knows, next week, obviously, winner of this game will play Thursday night. Your lineup for Friday is going to be the morning game. That's the Division 5 championship. Division 3 will be at 3 o'clock, and Division 1 will be at 7:30. Saturday, you're going to have the Division 6 first, and then Division 7 as Lamar Sperling blows through the defense for a first down pickup.
Dagger.
Just give him the Mr. Ohio trophy right now.
Dagger.
And they released it. Who is his competition right now?
Who?
Two other guys.
Lamar for
I would say
Mr.
the running
Football.
back down at Moeller.
And then is there the kid up at Cleveland Heights? Is he
Cleveland
in the mix?
Heights, yep.
Fair?
Yep, I think that was
fair,
the other kid that was on there.
Well, those were the regional, and maybe is Ryan Isley around here? He has a vote. I don't see him up here anymore, but he has a vote, and he voted for Lamar Sperling. But you get 3 per region that come out of there, the 4 regions in Ohio. So there's 12 finalists. And Lamar Sperling, I mean, here's the thing. We heard it all week long from J.P. Simon that their focus was on Lamar Sperling. And in 3 quarters, he ran for 220 yards on a phenomenal Massillon defense.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you cannot make this kid Mr. Football.
Saturday is going to finish out with, after the Division 7 game at 3, you'll finish out the state championship weekend at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium with the D4 championship Saturday at 7:30.
So Lamar Sperling has been over 200 yards rushing in every single playoff game.
And you know he's getting the football. You know what's coming.
Yeah. I mean, the Hoban offensive line just moved the Massillon defensive line 2 yards. Wow. And the line, no one blocked Pringle, but at this point in the game,
I call that Winkler ball.
Yeah, that it is. That's the weight room. And a great example of that is, back in 2016, we're playing Columbus DeSales down at Mansfield. We're down 9 points at halftime. And Danny Clark was a little off, in that game in the first half. And we came out. In the second half, we ran the ball 33 times and threw it once. And we beat them by 11. And Sperling goes down to the 1 to maybe put the nail in the coffin here. But that is. And it was, we felt like Coach Winkler prepared us in the weight room to finish games on the ground.
That was the big change at St. Thomas with Jack Rose. When he came in, we were playing against St. V, how we needed to get bigger, stronger. We got the weight room over at St. Thomas. What happens 2 years later? State title. Next year after that, state runner-up.
Jeff, I think the only thing cooler than as we see Sperling go in there for the nightcap, that's going to make it 34-14.
Yeah.
I think the only thing cooler than what they did over there with Winkler in the weight room, and the weight room obviously is second to none. It's better than most small colleges. That
It's the best high school weight room in the
But
state of
I
Ohio.
thought the coolest thing is when we were helping out getting set up for the Zach Brown Band concert when they had it over there at their facility, and they brought in John Daly, and John Daly teed off from across the highway and dropped it right into the stadium.
That's
golf
the, that's
program.
the easiest shot he's hit in decades.
He probably had a heater and a fifth of scotch right next to him.
He was barefoot on top of it. Teed it up and fly it over the 77. No big deal.
Just stumbled out of the tour bus. Extra point goes left.
And they've been struggling,
No
but
good.
So still 20-point lead for the Knights with 7:43 left in the game.
I'll tell you what, I was a little taken aback earlier this week. I got a text, and I forwarded it to some of you. I actually shaved a touchdown off of that because I didn't want to send too outlandish. One of the Hoban coaches texted me and said, if we play the way we're capable, we're 3 touchdowns better than them. And right now, that's what it looks like.
Wow,
right?
so we gassed them up with 2, and that didn't work. Maybe if we would have said 3, it would have made a difference. It's your fault now.
It's and you hate to put a game on him because he's a sophomore, and he's done so well, and their coach staff's done such a good job with Jalen Slaughter. But we said, which quarterback makes more plays is going to win this game, and Jalen Slaughter has not looked like.
Well, that offensive line is
banged up.
He was running for his life early and often.
They're banged up.
Yeah, that's still surprising to me what's going on with Sam Snodgrass that he didn't play in this game because he's been Mr. Durable, kind of been the leader of the group since last year. And for Marcus Moore to not start and really play at a game at offensive tackle for the Tigers since Moeller. I mean, this is week 15, man. You're going back 14 weeks.
Drew, do you put Ardell Banks in the backfield and bring him out and get the ball to him that way just to get his hands on the ball?
No, I think you got to do some max protection and try to get him the ball that way. And just say, he's better than the corner he's playing against and try to do some things there. You're going to have to tempo here. You had success with that earlier. Good return there, But here's the other thing. When you have a big receiver like him, if you get in some tough situations in high school, they say it's a 50-50 ball, throw it up. A lot of penalties come out on deep passes in high school on the deep ball. So that's a way to gain some yards here. I'd really like to see Massillon get back in this game. Coach Moore just does a phenomenal job there. Their whole coaching staff does a phenomenal job. What a season they've had. And, I was telling, some other friends that I have in Massillon, eventually you keep doing the right things and the ball's going to bounce your way. And unfortunately it hasn't materialized into a state championship yet. But, Massillon does all the right things. They're well coached. They're great kids. The other thing, coming into this game, we found this out right before McKinley is, Slaughter misses on the middle of the field. Would have been a huge play. This Massillon Tiger football team has a 3.66 grade point average. Coach Nate Moore showed us that before the McKinley game.
That was quite an event there at Tozie's on 12th. The Hall of Fame luncheon event
TJ,
around the world.
I want to get your opinion on something. The length of this high school season, you think about it, you go all the way, you win state, you're 15 weeks in with no bye weeks. They're basically playing an NFL schedule. I mean, we've talked about, the amount of teams that get into the playoffs. I mean, does that need to be shortened?
I think it does. I think 12 is a better number. Maybe give the first 4 a bye and figure out how you do it from there.
Or shorten, if you want to do that, shorten the regular season to 9 games.
Yeah.
These high school kids, to ask them go from August 1st through the first weekend in December is insane. Mm-hmm. The grind, especially at this level, and you talk about kids going into college. I'll give you a great example. Briante Dunn had so many carries on his legs going into college. He was banged up all the time at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of these seasons are too long, and you get these high school kids that, just have a million carries on their legs.
But we beat Massillon in Paul Brown Tiger Stadium, and we beat McKinley over at Fawcett. So we'll take that. No, he also had Urban Meyer come into the coach's office, and I sat there with Scott Garcia, and Urban said, "Are you coming or not? Because I really don't want you." And it's like, wow. To me, I thought Briante would have been better suited to maybe go to Kent State or go to Bowling Green or go to
Michigan wanted him too, though, didn't he?
They did, but I think he would have been a guy that would have started for sure 3 years. And think about the guy who he ends up getting put behind on the shelf over there at Ohio State.
Urban Meyer's an
Ezekiel
asshole.
Elliott. So
we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
I could say that. Urban's an asshole.
Yeah. Listen, does anybody remember the guy who was behind Archie Griffin? Well,
No.
I do, just because it was Jeff Logan, but he had to wait 2-3 years to be able to get that shot, and you get one season at it. I mean, the guys that had to wait, you had the Davis kid, you had Briante Dunn, who all sat there behind Ezekiel Elliott, while Ezekiel Elliott put together 3 years, maybe top 5 all time at Ohio State.
Massillon's trying to drive here still.
the best quarterback Ohio State ever had and never played. He's playing for the Cincinnati Bengals right now.
Yeah.
Won a national championship at LSU. I had no idea.
I thought you were going to say Tom Tupa.
That's because Urban wanted a guy that was going to wind up running. When you looked at the amount of hits that Braxton Miller took in his career down in Ohio, you wonder why he couldn't play in the NFL.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
Not that he was going to be a quarterback in the NFL.
He can't stay healthy. Yeah.
Right.
So 3 timeouts remaining for the Tigers, 1 timeout remaining for the Knights, 20-point lead for Hoban, 6:31 remaining in the fourth. One time here real quick, want to mention all of our sponsors who made things possible here all season long at Stark Media for all of our broadcast teams. Drew, myself, Jeff, Mark, as we got out there. It started with our friends at C.H. Vallis & Associates, Simon Says Promotions, Kishman's Fresh Market, McNeil & Sons Tree Service, Leathernecks Nation MC, Spirit of Stark. It was also brought to you by FinallyHereOhio.com, Miracle Motors 42, Corey Golf and Event Center, Red Door Apparel and Clothier, and our guy Lindsay, John Lindsay, Mr. Lindsay, whatever you want to call him. The guy makes pizza, chicken, stromboli, salads, the best. Lindsay's Pizza.
Oh, nice grab by Tolles again. He's had a nice game.
Mm-hmm.
Great adjustment on the ball there. One other sponsor we had, Ben Wallenberg's Chocolates.
Another St. Thomas guy.
Yeah, Ben Wallenberg and
introduced,
St. Joe's Senior Living, sponsors of the
St.
High School
Joe's.
Football Rewind.
So I introduced Jeff Tyler to those almond divines there.
Let me tell you, I'm going to be knocking on the door first thing in the morning for some of those.
I'll tell you what Ben Wallenberg does with those candy and the nuts over there is unbelievable.
So good.
Chased it with a little Colorado Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Slaughter over the top.
Nice
held
ball.
like crazy.
Really nice ball.
There goes the flag. They tried to get it in there to gamble.
You know what?
That's a
Shout
nice
out
throw.
to these officials, guys. That was the first time that I said that's definitely pass interference, and they threw the flag.
I'll tell you what.
There was contact earlier, but I never thought it was actually passing interference. So they've done a nice job.
They have all night. I don't think there's been a call that we're like, I don't know, that's questionable. And they're not memorable. That's what you want about officials, to not be memorable in a game.
Were you talking to them down there on the sideline, Mark, before the game?
I only got a chance to see him. I didn't get a chance to talk to this crew.
And you said this is a group that has not done – they haven't been together at all this year, right?
No, they have been. This is going to be their 3rd game that they've been together right now.
But that's how it kind of shuffles as you go into the postseason, right? You got to kind of get picked and pulled from different areas.
They get the best of the best.
So, TJ, we were talking about Mr. Ohio.
Slaughter going to the end zone. We'll see what happens
right
here.
at it. The defensive end peeled off his
and
rush.
he caught it.
Unbelievable
The Massillon
catch.
Tiger, Wiltrell Hartson, catches it.
I don't know how he made that catch.
That looked like it was going to be a surefire interception. Wiltrell Hartson trying to break the all-time career rush mark
It
here.
went off the
It's not
defender's
going to
chest.
go. It's not going to go towards his stat line that he wants, but he makes it 34-20.
Wow.
How about that?
The defensive end peels, covers him all the way down the field, shows great speed, gets in front of the ball, goes off his chest, and into Will Trell's hands. Phenomenal focus by Will Trell there.
Young Vinny Keller in for the
Not
extra
bad
point. You got the
snap.
fire.
Oh, boy.
Ugh. That guy right there.
Whistle.
As,
good.
as young Vinny Keller watches his holder attempt to almost get suplexed and body slammed by about 5
And
different
we got an
Hoban
injury
Knights.
here.
Well, who do you think it is? It's the guy, the holder. I mean, he's down there. He had about 5 or 6 dudes. Holders
go
are not
down.
used to that stuff. That's number 14,
Go down, young man.
Calix Collins.
He's
The
been
official
hurt.
should have blown a whistle there. I mean, he was running backwards.
Yeah, forward momentum had stopped.
Back to my question before that, TJ. Who votes on Mr. Ohio?
It's the writers, the sports writers, I
Yeah.
believe, right?
That's what I'm asking.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Ohio Sport, yeah, it is. It's the Ohio Sports Writers. There's an acronym for their
And you said 3 per region? 3 players per
Are
region?
nominated as finalists per region, yep.
We're going to see an onside kick here, brother.
You've got to.
Got to. Yeah.
Some score updates, guys. Canfield 31-21. Canfield winning that in the 4th quarter.
Over Holy Name, right?
Over Holy Name. Getting tight. Kings. Toledo Central Catholic 38 over Kings 35. So
What's that? Does that say final or
no.
4th quarter?
Nope. Still 4th quarter. Still 4th quarter. St. Ed's is taking control 24-7 over Lincoln. Moeller is all square, 21-21 with Springfield.
Jeff, you got to give me the Ironton score. I need to know if I'm going
You're
to
not
dinner.
going to like it.
Let me go back. Hold on one
Home
moment.
of Reggie Arden. The great Tyler Rayleigh.
Ironton 28, Valley View 21.
Oh, boy.
That's not final. We do have one final. 2 finals, really.
Oh, boy, they're bringing out the stretcher. This is not good.
No, it's not.
You do not want to see this.
Boy, you just kind of saw about 4 or 5 guys that had gotten around him there. And
I didn't see anything dirty.
there was nothing dirty,
Yeah.
but you just
One of you got official.
that. And one of you guys said it. The kids, you just fall down.
Yeah.
Just go down because you're fighting for yardage. I get it. You're trailing. You want to be able to try
You're
and do something at that
going
point.
Against,
Just go down. Yeah, grown men.
You
There's
got a
lot of
couple
big boys over
300
there.
pounders falling on top of you.
Yep. It's tough to see.
Who is this that's down?
It's the holder.
I believe it's Calix Collins, number 14. Yeah, not what you want to see there. You know, you've already had some
2-year
of these.
letterman for the. I'll tell you what. It's unfortunate that Massillon's in this position, down 2 touchdowns, but they're a relatively young football team. They've got a lot of good football players
is
coming
Hoban.
back next year.
Hoban's young.
Hoban is too. Will Trell obviously is going to graduate at running back. But they've got some young players.
young
Lennox
man
is
that-
coming back, and his younger brother. He's got a younger brother.
Dorian Pringle's coming back.
Yeah,
who's-
the young man that played defensive end was Peterson. He went to Wisconsin.
Yes.
How's he been
Darryl.
playing there?
He's been moved a couple times position. I think he's playing linebacker now. But he's it's to go from high school to the Big Ten is a big. Doesn't matter how good you are.
What, he was a heck of a player, man.
That's a big change.
Classy move by Tim Terrell.
Here's a question, TJ, with our fantasy draft. Is it a keeper league?
Yeah, I hope so. Because my team's loaded with sophomores and juniors.
Oh, I got several. I got Poochie Snyder in the keeper league.
I got Dorian Pringle and Nino Hill. I think.
Avante Burt.
Okay, so we're talking. Obviously it's the end of the season. Who do you think the front runner is going to be in Stark County for Player of the Year next year? Poochie, obviously.
It's got to be, yeah.
Poochie, then maybe Dorian Pringle.
Yep.
And Nino Hill.
I mean, both of those guys could easily have won it this year.
Are Poochie's receivers? What grades are they?
Tavon Castle's back. I don't believe Xavier is, but I know he's got at least one. Tavon Castle, I believe, was
Zerbrug.
between Xavier and him.
Yeah, he loses. Alliance loses some seniors.
They had some dudes.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I think you got Zion Culver, who's a freshman running back who ran really well in the Canton South system, so he's coming back. That helps. I think their biggest issue has always just been, can you turn over some good linemen to keep coming back? And they lost a lot of good ones off of last year's team, but the size is where it's at. I think we had talked earlier or a few weeks ago on the playoff show about what might be coming back for them up front, and it looked like there was a handful of guys that might be tipping the scales at about 250.
Yeah. So you think about this. Northwest loses a lot as a senior. Fairless loses a ton. Triway loses a ton in the pack. Tuslaw loses their 2 best players, and Harbitner and Tommy Schneider.
Canton South is good.
The Pac-7 coaches' stomachs have to be churning at the thought that Poochie
I
Snyder.
saw your picks for coaches, too. Was Matt Dennison a guy that you had given thought to picking?
Yeah, he did a great job. I picked Scott Garcia because of his entire body of work.
Calix is being taken off the field now, so thoughts and prayers with not only him but his entire family, his teammates, his coaches, everybody.
There were so many coaches.
Absolutely safety of that happened.
Well, he did a thumbs up on the way out.
That's good. When you look at Canton South, I mean, you've got a 6'4", 310-pound junior coming back. You've got a 230-pound junior. You've got a 275-pound junior. You got Max Cochran, Jason Clark, Joe Sams. I mean, that's a 585-pound side of your offensive line right there. You look down even further, another 235-pound junior, 230, 240-pound freshman, 285-pound sophomore, Brock Prestier. So you've got some guys coming back with some size.
Lamar Sperling on the Good Hands team.
Yeah,
Boy,
absolutely.
God help him if he catches that ball.
I'll tell you what. In a game like this, you put your best players out there when you need them. That's always been my philosophy.
Guys, the Federal League's going to be interesting next year. A lot of Glen Oak, Lake,
Hoover.
and McKinley have a ton of sophomores coming back.
Hoover's got Carson
Hey,
Derling coming back.
Hey, how about Dante McClellan being a guy that could put his name in the hat for Player of the Year next year?
He's phenomenal. Yeah, McKinley's got a lot of good sophomores. They got some
Keith
pieces to
Rhodey
replace
comes
in the
back.
front seven.
Nino, Keaton, Keith Quincy.
Keith Quincy, another sophomore. Yeah.
Listen to
Dior
these.
Gardner, sophomore.
Yep.
Listen to
up
these
front.
players coming back for Lake: Nathan Baker, Cale Jarvis, Joseph Garrow, Evan Brady, their kicker Kelton Dutton.
Wow.
Which I'm going to nickname Yellowstone.
What a great show.
And
Straight
Dane
out.
Jarvis, all coming back.
Look at
from
that.
Lake.
That's going to go right out of bounds. No checkup.
It's a good idea. Just
No
too much.
no Jeff Tyler checkup.
And there's
the
a
flag.
penalty on Massillon.
Put 15 yards on that, baby.
Come on, man.
They
I'll tell you
hooked
what.
Discipline.
Yeah, that looks like some of my drives, at Sable Creek on number 2 on the black.
I know it.
My drives never ever go to the left. I'm always
The creek
putting
is
the
over there.
slice. And for some reason that
Right?
damn creek is like a magnet to my drive, and it just pulls it over. That was just like that kick. It was a magnet to the sideline, and
I'm a lefty, so I know that stream that runs through there.
Not to make you feel bad, Drew, but I don't need anything more than a 6-iron at that course.
God, that hurts.
come on,
Of course, it's not
Come
long.
on.
Of course, it's not long at all.
come on. You must be playing the gold.
You haven't seen me hit a ball, dude. Bring your checkbook.
Yeah.
See if we can get Mrs. Sarakatak in the picture there too. Let's get some
So
smiles
that
from
only
everybody.
enhances the
Smiles
photo when
from
she's in it.
everybody.
Yeah, she's an Instagram model.
Lauren, what's that ring size? We need to make sure that we get that ring fitted correctly. 5 carats? That's all we need to know. It could be any size.
She can get it resized after, as long as it's 5 carats. It's all good.
Yeah.
So,
5:57 remaining.
so guys, coming back for Glen Oak,
A
both
lot.
both Burt brothers. I kind of think if I'm Coach Garcia, I throw Cole Anderson in there at quarterback.
Yeah.
Put
Saw some good signs out of
Put
him.
Burt in the slot.
Guess who got the ball? Lamar.
Yeah, and if you and the funny thing was talking to Rennie Wilson out at some of the scrimmages and stuff early in August. He's like, "We're young, yeah, we're very very young."
If I were
know?
to put my offensive coordinator hat back on, and I was the offensive coordinator of the Glen Oak Golden Eagles, you've got Avonte Burt coming back. You've got Adrian Burt. You've got that Jermaine Johnson, the running back, who's phenomenal.
Yep.
I am going lightning fast, putting Cole Anderson at quarterback, going lightning fast, spread offense, and getting the ball out as fast as I can, a la Alex Hawkins at St. Thomas, and just saying, we're coming at you.
Boy,
Federal
he
League
hits that thing
teams.
hard, doesn't he?
Cole
I mean,
Anderson can spin it.
Yeah.
How fast did
He
Lamar
almost
Sperling?
won the late game for Glen Oak.
I think you're right on that 4.445 speed. I mean, by the time he hits the line of scrimmage, I mean Lamar Sperling, his little 5-yard burst is impressive. And the other thing to look at too is, as I saw his dad the other night, Randy Eckerman. What is Lucas Eckerman and the Jackson Polar Bear football
sophomore.
team? They're going to have to replace a lot of tough guys.
Yeah, that offense is going to look a lot different.
But man, he's got track speed. He's fast. He can chuck the ball around. I'm excited to see what Lucas Eckerman can do.
Did Dan DeGeorge receive Federal League Coach of the Year?
Yes.
Yep, he did.
God, almost every single coach in the Federal League could have maybe.
Look at that. Not having Davide, I don't know who their go-to back's going to wind up being.
I'm a Scott Garcia fan. He was a former coach of mine, coached on his staff before all that. But, I mean, to me, it was a little bit of a stretch to think that Scott would have been,
Coach of the Year.
Yeah, you said that there was a lot of different candidates in there. But
Antonio Hall, I thought. Brian Baum with what Hoover lost.
Exactly. And I thought both of you guys, you took Scott Garcia for your fantasy team. You took Antonio Hall for yours. Something, Dan DeGeorge probably felt the snub. A guy like A.J. Sarball, Fairless, could have taken the snub. I mean, look what Fairless did.
Yep.
Their 3-year run compared to what they did in 78, 79, 80, only time they've had those 3 back-to-back-to-back winning seasons. So A.J.'s done a good job.
I think sometimes, and this isn't fair, because I can say this because I've worn the head coaching hat, and I've coached teams with a lot of talent, and I've coached teams that aren't. I want to see what you do as a coach. I want to see what you do
with crap
when
talent.
everything leaves the following year. So let's see what Dan DeGeorge and A.J. Sarbaugh do when that talent leaves the cupboard, because Brian Baum had a ton of talent that left the cupboard. And what all he did is developed new kids, because that's what a coach is. It's developing a program. It's not just taking advantage of the talent you have at the moment.
Speaking, did anybody take Brocker on there?
I sure did.
Yeah. He was
my wide receiver
Lamar
pick.
Lamar Sperling is probably going to run for 300 yards in this game on the Massillon
First down
Tiger
pickup
defense.
for him. He gets it to the 20-yard line of the Lindsay's Pizza red zone.
If I told J.P. Simon before the game that Lamar Sperling was going to run for 300 yards, do you think that hammer would have been upside my head?
He'd have spit on you.
It would have found its way to Avondale. It would have been like Thor's hammer. It would have landed in our property. At least it would have blown some of the leaves away. Yeah. The ones I still have failed to clean up. Sorry, guys, for making the
Well, I
neighbor
thought
look.
that you guys might help each other out as neighbors with your leaves.
Come on up with your,
it's
come
a
on up with your
tall
wood
task.
chipper.
I've got more.
You got a guy that takes care of it.
I do have a guy that takes care of it, and it's my neighbor across the street. We're going to shout out Brian Anderson for helping me with my leaves. Brian Anderson's a real nice guy, lives across the street and helps me out with my leaves. So
is he a Glen Oak guy, Brian Anderson?
He is.
Yeah, play a little soccer. All right, so Brian Baum, look, he's got Mason Ashby coming back. We know what Derlin can do. Brocker's coming back. A.J. Dolph's going to play a huge part in that whole deal.
Mason Ashby.
Mason Ashby's back. Drew Ziarko's back. Mark, you were big on him and what he was able to do coming off the edge.
Their running back is back.
How about this?
Bryce Roach is back.
Carson Derlin should be talked about next year as
yes, I think you're right.
Conversation.
He's done nothing but get
a lot
better.
of good dudes coming back here. I think where Coach Baum is really
Lamar Sperling. Oh, got a shoestring
where
there.
Where you're really going to find out how good he is now is across the front lines, because he's losing Brad Cormanack, he's losing Aiden Sickney, C.J. Lehman's gone, DeGuzman's going to be gone, Max Gorman's going to be gone, Hudson Lent's gone, Owen Fox is gone. You're losing pretty much everybody up front. You're replacing your entire offensive line, but you got Brady Sullivan coming back. Do we see him play more of an impact role on the offensive line? He's listed as a tight end. Could be interesting.
He stays focused.
No more timeouts for the Tigers.
I'll tell you
either.
what, the chat of our game is blowing up.
A little lively.
Yeah, we got a lot of people trolling us. But
somebody pissed off or what?
Guess what? Yeah, we got a few people, but hey, this is not a traditional broadcast. We're doing a podcast here during a game.
Pac-7 next year. Don't sleep on
Or
Northwest.
they want to know the score. It's 34-20. Tigers are losing.
Now, I'm looking at it. Northwest is losing a ton of the big guys.
Yeah.
Okay, they've got skill guys back. Chase Badger's coming back. Marregula is coming back. They got some receivers that are good coming back. They've lost a lot of the beef up the middle in the trenches. However, they got some sophomores and juniors. I don't know what they're feeding these kids over at Northwest.
What are they feeding them over there, Rick?
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Canal water. Unbelievable. There's some sophomores and juniors that are going to replace as far as size. I don't know talent-wise. On the offense, defensive wise.
They've got DeMarco, too.
Heck of a coach. So, you got 4 minutes left here. It's 34-20. Hoban over Tigers at the moment.
Yeah, if you guys want to know what's going on in the game, just
check out our boy Sammy B on 106.9, man. Yeah, that's where you want to go if you want the
just go out
play-by-play of that.
behind your woodshed, and you'll find Hoban taking Massillon back there.
It's there right now, and they're about to pop another one, and they're up by 14 with 3:40 remaining. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. No negative comment or not. Hey, thanks. Give us a look.
There you go. We'll give you Lamar Sperling into the line of scrimmage.
Marcus Moore drops him there. We got a lot of stuff coming up here in the wintertime. Going to have a big wrestling platform that we're going to launch with our guy Jim Bostic. Our guy Rick Wright's going to be involved with it. Tim Arnold, Brad Scarborough. We actually had J.R. Supis in. He is the special teams coordinator for the Lake Blue Streaks, and he rolled in there to the vault this past week, and they just come off that loss to the Massillon Tigers, and I didn't realize that he was coming, and I know that it maybe was a little bit too early to have him come back out to Massillon after the loss, but he enjoyed it, man. He brings a lot to the table. Wrestling has been around for about 20 years in those programs.
Delay game.
Flag comes out.
Nope.
Guys, I got a big update here. With 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Springfield 28, Moeller 24.
Ooh.
Anybody comment on there about these amazing score updates from our guy, the natural here, Jeff Tyler? I know you're not getting that anywhere from our
We
competitors.
do have some positive things. Some people.
I don't think our competitors are giving out scores like that.
Some people didn't think I'm crazy for saying go to a 9-game season if you're going to have a 6-game playoff. Some people didn't like that, but it's getting tough for these
It's a
teams.
grind. These kids are playing 15 weeks in a row with
Teenagers.
yeah. That's a big.
We
grind.
got some people.
Jimmy
trolling.
Cunningham, is he back next year? Workinger gone? Yep.
We got some
Northwestern gonna
people
lose some
trolling
guys.
Sean Crable on here with you. So
Oh, yeah, perfect, man. I'll tell you what. Let them know. I got a couple series left in me. If they want to line up tomorrow afternoon, I think they got a little bit upset because back when those Michigan Wolverines used to line up, they had the #1 defense in the country. Hadn't had anybody run for over 100 yards on them all season long. And then here comes old 7 Deuce with the Swiss cheese truck. Lit them up for about 250 yards on the ground.
Guys, here's another
Touchdown.
Spurling
update.
into the end zone. That's going to
Another
wrap it
update.
up. 40 to
Swirling
20.
in the-
Here's another update. Kings 42, Toledo Central Catholic 38.
Oh boy!
They take their first lead with 6 minutes left.
Kings Mills has got a nice team,
And they're big up front. They're a team.
and they can run it and
Yeah.
throw it.
Yeah, they can throw it. I had some stats on the quarterback. I'll
Run
find it
that
here in a
score
moment.
one more time. 42.
42-38 Kings.
Does it give you a time? How much is left? Or
6
no?
minutes left.
No, that's
So
fine.
as
Their
it's-
quarterback, get these numbers. He's a senior, Will Kocher, 4,300 yards passing now, 46 tutties. So
they've scored a ton of points. This
he has 7,600 yards in his career passing.
He's
All
got
right,
a good
extra point
leg.
Good. 41-21 with 2:15 remaining. So,
Direction.
while we have a chance here, we want to say that now that we know that there will not be any more Stark County teams remaining, we know that the Tigers were the last one. We want to all give a big shout out from Stark Media Team to the administrations, from your athletic directors to your supers to your principals to your on-site people getting us set up in the press boxes, everybody, faculty member that volunteered, everybody that kind of put on the shows at all the different 19 schools, and then some from the greater Stark County area, from the region that we were out covering, whether it was West Branch, Green, down to Malvern, Carrollton. I know you guys were down there for the Carrollton Alliance game. We've got to be welcomed into a lot of great different programs and press boxes and on schools' campuses. We want to thank all of those ADs and everybody who took care of us. It was a great year. It's great to see people back in the stands. What we dealt with COVID, not being able to go. Everybody's just basically live streaming at that point, trying to keep up with the action. But, Drew, I've heard you mention this all year long, whether it was a high school football rewind show, your broadcast, podcast, whatever we did. Get out into the stands, into the
Watch
stadiums,
those
and
games.
do that. And I thought
Support the kids.
it was good this year.
Yeah, it really was. We had great support wherever we went. Great hospitality, and you talk about some of these schools like Lake, Massillon, Hoover. The way they turn out for games is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You went to a Lake game; it was just a sea of people. It was phenomenal.
What a great venue for a game.
Oh,
that bowl, it sits down in there, and
Yeah, hats off to their athletic director there too.
And
Really
how about
helped.
how about the food spread that they put on over there at Northwest? I mean, I'll
Oh,
tell you what,
yeah.
man, always feeding the people, always hooking us up. The
the
touchdown
Touchdown
club,
Club there, yeah.
President Rick Wright back here, man, he always took care of us, man. That was just phenomenal. Brand new press box, brand new scoreboard, great field, great facility over there.
Great press box for sure.
Yes,
Need
man,
another
yes.
bolt in there, I think. It sways a little bit. That scared the heck out of me first time I was in there. I'm like, is it me or is there an earthquake right now?
TJ, you got to tell the story. We did that Central Catholic playoff game over at Central, and it was snowing.
Oh, yeah. Boy, we were it was Mark's favorite team, Garrettsville Garfield, had come down, and we were inside of the bowl over there in Hartville. And it got interesting. I was worried about Mark. I didn't know if he was going to make it out of there. What a
great
catch. Is that Ardell? Nope, that's number 19, Kyler Wiggins.
Is this, Mark,
Gets it out to the
you've been in the booth longer than
38.
any of us.
Oh, no. I've been on the sideline.
Well, at the games, really.
We only recently brought him up into the press
Yeah.
box for exponential
Just in
reasons.
general, Drew and I had the windows open week 12.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm same way.
insane.
And
Insane
that's,
weather
and
this
that's
year.
why Dave gets mad at me down there, because I always open the windows in the box. Everybody's freezing. Toll snags at 45.
Tolles is having himself a
big
come-out
block
game.
Down to the Hoban
Man.
41-yard line. Buck
Tyson
22
Campbell just
remaining.
got
No
mauled.
timeouts for the Tigers, trailing by 21. So it's all but over. They'll see if they can't punch one into.
Ardell Banks still without a catch.
How close is
I think
Hartson?
he's got one target.
Hartson's not going to get the record.
Hartson is not
If he
going to get
took it to the
record.
house right here, he
That
might
would
be close.
That would be it. Give it to him. Keep
Yeah.
him in a block.
That's a really strong throw all the way across from the hash to the far numbers. A really strong throw. We got a Hoban player down, and that's the young Grant's boy.
That's that throw you call from the window to the wall.
That is a long throw. And you know, I was telling Jeff because Jeff had never been here. What an awesome facility this is.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people talk about Toledo. You know, I know you're a Kent State guy, Mark, but this is the best stadium in the MAC, I think.
Dix.
It's a shame
No
nobody
Dix
comes to
Stadium?
any games.
I know. They get their stuff together and it's winning the games. People would come here, but
Can't go wrong with Dix Stadium.
yeah. I mean, I like that stadium.
Most
too, but
people
We're
were
not
It's a
on
wind
terrestrial
tunnel.
radio.
Yeah.
We can say whatever we want to
Yeah.
say.
it's a wind tunnel there in Kent. though.
Hey,
That
Oh,
game's getting
absolutely.
cold.
You know,
Yeah.
most people that were trolling this game tonight, seeing some of the pictures that we put up, they said, "Man, that stadium hasn't seen that many people in like a really long time."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Massillon
If
faithful
ever.
have left.
The most attended event in this stadium's history
Soccer?
was the LeBron homecoming ceremony, which was what 2013. He came back, I believe. That was the lowest, and then I believe the next one is this 2019 Hoban Massillon game.
Yep.
And then all the rest of the top 10 are Hoban St. V.
Mark, I'm drawing a blank here. You were on the sideline for that game. Was that a windy atmosphere type game? That was the 17-14 game
Oh, you're talking about
in
Hoban and Mass-
2019.
It was
Yeah.
just cold.
It was just cold.
It was
Yeah.
cold.
Okay.
And you know, in my mind,
Drawing a blank on the young man who
Diamante
kicked the
Traynham.
field goal to
You
win.
know, when you're up here in the press box and you
Yeah,
got those
right.
cozy confines.
that game was both teams
Cute.
were so banged up in that game, Massillon and I think that's why Massillon didn't end up beating LaSalle because they were so beaten up coming into the Hoban game. That Hoban game was a war, and then they just didn't have enough to beat LaSalle.
LaSalle had that quarterback, and I might be saying the name wrong. He was like Hanratty or whatever. He just was all over the place. I mean, yeah, that is almost like you put out so much to get to that moment, just like they put out so much to beat them in Marysville. They beat LaSalle in Marysville, and then it ended up being Hoban and Massillon at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium for the title.
And you know something that you'd appreciate when
Fortress
you're a coach,
Obats fell through.
Oh, I hate that place.
something that you appreciate is how hard it is to win a state championship.
Yep.
Massillon's done everything right in their program. They can't do it better than what they're doing. They can't make there's nothing better I think they can do as a coaching staff, and they've had talent. And it's still that hard to get there. I mean, and win it. It is extremely tough. You got to have health. You got to have talent. You have to have luck. You have lots of luck. You know, I mean, there were times, you know, in 2015, Louisville had us dead to rights in the playoffs. And they turn it over. We score a touchdown towards the end. But it is extremely hard to win a state championship. And I don't think that should be, you know, a lot of people say, well, this coach can't win that, can't win it. You shouldn't be measured on that.
When you look at the past Massillon teams that have gone to the state titles, where would you rank this one?
I think this one on the offensive line and defensive line, as we get a little chippiness here, on the O-line, D-line is probably better than any of those teams, I think. You know, from wide receiver, I mean, Ballard, Wilson, Lamp, I mean, that crew was pretty good.
Okay, so real quick, we know that's all going to end next week at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. So prediction, Final Four, Division 4 Final Four going on right now. You'll have that tomorrow night. You got Glenville, you've got Jefferson area with Grant Hitchcock,
Glenville.
who's been lighting cats up, and
You
then
don't
you've
even
got
gotta read the
then you've got Wyoming and you've got Steubenville, Big Red.
Picked off.
He might go to the house. Tim's telling him to get down.
That's number 7, going to take it to the 20s at the 15.
The official
cuts back
saved,
against the
the
grain,
official saved him.
and he's chopped down at the 5 by Kyler Wiggins.
Hey, you know, that's a play, and you saw Coach Tim Terrell after he picked up saying, get down, because because people can get hurt on that play.
There
You're
you
going
go.
to a state championship game. You want to keep people healthy. I know the kids want to score.
Somebody gets peeled back, a
gonna
block,
be
you can see it.
Sideline warning. So that I don't believe, unless
the
they
first
call
one.
the actual penalty.
That's the sophomore Micah Rice with the interception.
But
It's sad to me
Glenville's going to win. I mean,
you think Glenville comes out
Ted-
of that way.
Teddy
Wyoming
Gibb Jr.
Wyoming has been in it
Oh, yeah,
all
they're
the
good.
last couple of years.
Yeah, they beat St. Clairsville one year.
Yep.
In the state championship.
Big Red's
game.
got their hands full with Wyoming.
Yeah, I think so too.
Reno, that's your guy, right?
I love that guy.
There's a lot of people that don't. But
No, that's true.
I think this Steubenville team,
It's
usually,
overachieved.
they're just a solid team. They don't have those guys. You used to go watch Steubenville and be like, hey, Dwight Macon is a dude. Bronco
Busick.
is a dude. Like
Zach Caleros.
Zach Caleros, Radakovic. I mean, they've had so many players. They're like,
Division 6, are we looking at a potential Kirtland Marion
It's
local matchup?
oh yeah,
I'll take Maria Marion Stein all day long in that game.
yeah. I mean, Kirtland. I was shocked what Mogador. I didn't think was good enough to win it, but the way Kirtland manhandled Mogador up front was shocking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like South Range in Division. I think they're Division 5. I don't
Yeah.
know who else in Division
I need
5.
South Range to win.
I think I
And it's-
gave you that pick.
You did, and it's going to be them and Ironton, it looks like, maybe playing for it all.
Yeah, we got score updates, Jeff.
Yeah, Ironton final 35-21 over Valley View. South Range final 35-0 over Liberty Center. St. Ed's final 31-7 over Lincoln.
And that's your ball game.
And we've got Moeller down 4 with 2 minutes left. And we've got
Toledo
Kings
CC.
down 3.
Toledo CC
Or
just
actually,
scored.
yeah, Toledo CC just scored. So it's 48-42 TCC over the Kings.
Canfield wins 38-21. And we also have a final score. It's the Archbishop Hoban Knights 41 and the Massillon Tigers 20.
Whew. So,
Kings just scored
So-
49-45. Kings over TCC.
So who won in the predictions in this game?
We didn't go down through these.
No,
like
do we
last
have
time.
predictions for this game?
no, but the offensive line coach who predicted 3 scores was pretty close there, huh? 21 points.
What, we didn't do score
Oh,
predictions on
for this game?
game?
Yeah, I said 30. I said 31.
I said
24.
14-7, and you
Who
were
did you pick?
I picked Massillon.
Who did you pick?
I don't remember.
I picked Hoban.
Is there video? Is there video proof? I don't remember.
No, but all jokes aside, I really feel for this Massillon team and Coach Nate Moore. I can't speak enough from being a former coach. I think Nate Moore is one of the best coaches in the state of Ohio. He's a phenomenal person, and I think that's part of his success too. What him and his wife do, taking those kids in and really making it like their family. Coach Nate Moore deserves to get that state championship one of these days, and I think he will.
Gonna have to wait till next season.
Tim's going to play for his
Do you-
6th state
Do
championship.
you guys have any idea if Massillon will stay
No, 6,
D2, if
yeah.
they'll go
5
D1
here, 1
next
down.
year?
I would have to think. You look at that sideline. You look at the number of bodies in the school that Massillon would go up to Division 1.
It's gonna be tough. So you're adding 80 schools out of Division 7 and spreading them out. They used to do the top 72 would be Division 1. Right now there were 64 in Division 1. So I think Division 1 probably goes up to 90. Or
To
80,
me,
you
you
know.
look at a school like Perry, and I think Perry should stay at Division 2. But then you look at Massillon, I think Massillon might need to make the bump up.
Green?
Yep. North Canton Hoover.
I think Lake will. Lake is a growing district. And
You
I
think
a
Lake's
team-
going to go to D1?
Soon. I think they will soon, where their numbers are. I mean, and then a team like Louisville, I think in the next couple of years, you could see going down, being on that borderline of Division 4.
because they're not growing over there.
No.
We talk about football in the great state of Ohio. There's one conference that stands above every other conference, the MAC conference.
Yeah.
Where they've had multiple years where 3 teams
Yep.
from that conference won state titles.
29 straight years that they've had a team in the state semis.
That's incredible.
Out of one league. That's pretty good.
Wow.
Well, a lot of those teams don't have other fall sports besides football,
Every kid at Coldwater, every boy, I think, plays football.
Well,
crazy.
hey, there'll be hopefully a couple of new births here in the wintertime, and they'll get the football in the cradle, and they'll be
If
ready.
it's as cold as they
they'll
say
be
it
ready
is,
for
yeah, there probably will be.
16 years from now, they'll blossom. But no, shout out to Dave Goff, Nate Moore, Bubba Patchus, everybody that's got us dialed in all season long. Massillon Tigers making another run here to the state semis. Come up a little bit short here, 41-20, and we'll go ahead and wrap things up here from Infocision Stadium. Appreciate everybody riding alongside us here tonight on the YouTube channel. A little bit different for you. We don't compete against our partners, so we had our guy Sammy B rocking with iHeartRadio. Our great guys there, Josh Nagy, Keith Kennedy, and then obviously Sam's partner Jeff Shreve on Rock 106.9. Also the free iHeartRadio app. So we'll be back here more with the free iHeartRadio app at 99.7 as we get ready to launch the basketball season. You'll be able to check out Sam, Lee, Jeff, Mark, myself. We've done a little bit of hoops here. We're getting ready to start full tilt here with our Walsh Cavalier friends, our great friends and partners over there at Walsh University, over at the Cicchini Center and Alumni Arena. You'll be able to catch us there all year long. They'll be hosting Ohio Dominican on December 1st, so check back with us on that one. We want to say one more time, shout out to our sponsors from this season, C.H. Vallis and Associates, Kishman's Fresh Market, McNeil & Sons Tree Service, Leatherneck Nation MC, Spirit of Stark, and Simon Says Promotions. Finally, HeroOhio.com, which we'll go ahead and just say our finally HeroOhio.com was Lamar Sperling. No real
I don't know. I think we should probably talk about it.
Miracle Motors 42, Corey Golf and Event Center, Red Door Apparel and Clothier, Lindsay's Pizza, Ben Wallenberg's Chocolates, and St. Joe's Senior Living. All right, so for my friends here, my guys, 4 parts of the Stark Media team.
State Championship Preview Show this week.
State Championship Preview Show from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Catch that on Wednesday. We'll drop that, and we'll get ready for Thursday night's matchup, which we will know now. We'll feature this team right here in front of us, the Hoban Knights. So we'll be checking in with Coach T throughout the week, and should be a great weekend at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium on the campus of the Hall of Fame Village, right there at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That stadium will be rocking and rolling, so we're looking forward to it. As our friends from OHSAA come up, we'll dive into a little bit of work with them as well. So for TJ Downing, myself here, Mark Milano, Drew Sarachman, Jeff Tyler, we appreciate everybody rocking alongside us here on this, we'll call it a State Semi Podcast from Infocision Stadium. Thanks. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone, and go Bucks.
Go Blue.